Hey guys, Hussein and welcome to the Tailwind CSS Masterclass. So in this course, you are going to be learning a lot about Tailwind CSS. But before we get into this course, there are just a few prerequisites which you have to know to work with Tailwind CSS. So you just have to know HTML and CSS. So if you don't know HTML and CSS, you cannot work with Tailwind CSS, okay? And if you want to learn HTML and CSS, I've got entire course on HTML and CSS, which is I guess 17-hour long or maybe 15-hour long. You can check that out if you want, or you can learn it from somewhere else if you want to. So in this course, if you want to work with Tailwind CSS, so you have to know HTML and CSS. If you don't know that, well, just take your own risk. Anyways, so now let's get into the introduction of Tailwind CSS. So what is that technology or whatever it is that we are learning? So now we are inside the homepage of Tailwind CSS, and it's saying like rapidly build modern website without ever leaving your HTML markup. So you just have to remember that, like, it's just like Tailwind CSS is just a CSS framework packed with classes like blah blah blah, which you are going to be learning a lot of classes that can be composed to build any design directly in your markup. Getting started. Okay, we will jump into that, but here you can see we have a HTML code right here. We don't have any CSS, nothing inside this file. So we just have our HTML file right here, and we just have a lot of classes right here, and the result will be this right here. Okay, so if you write all of that code, if I just copy that and paste it in my HTML file, but we have to link it with our Tailwind CSS, which I'm going to show you just in a second. So it will give us that result right here. Okay, so the founder of Tailwind CSS is Adam, and here you can learn, and here you can see a lot of great people, a lot of great developer designers are saying good stuff about Tailwind CSS. So look at this Ryan Florence and look at this Kenzie Dodd. There are a lot of great engineers, a lot of great developer UI UX people who's been using this Tailwind CSS. You can learn, or you can read through this testimonial in your spare time. Anyways, so let's just go down and build whatever you want seriously, and you can just go to this landing page and you can learn or explore a lot of stuff with that. Anyway, so I guess that will be it for the introduction. If you want to go to the Tailwind CSS homepage, so you just have to type like tailwindcss.com. remember, Tailwind CSS, don't forget that CSS and then .com, and it will bring you to that page. And I'm going to also give you that link in the description below if you want to check that out. So now that we know what Tailwind CSS is, now the next thing which we have to do is that how can we use this Tailwind CSS? Like, how in the world can we use that? Well, for that we are going to be using two softwares. The first one will be Visual Studio Coder, and you are totally free to choose whichever kind of coder you like. You can use Sublime Text, you can use JetBrains product, you can use like Atom, or there are a lot of them. But for this course, I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code Editor. For this course, just a code editor. Okay, so if you want to download and install Visual Studio Coder in your machine, I'm going to give you that link in the description below. But if you want to type it manually, so here's the link, like code.visualstudiocode.com. okay, and it will bring you to this web page right here, and it will automatically detect your operating system by default. But if it's not, so you can just download it for Mac OS, for Windows, for Linux, and so on and so forth. So this is what I'm going to be using as my code editor. Okay, so now the next thing which you would need for this course is some sort of a browser. You can choose whichever kind of browser you like, but my recommendation will be to use Google Chrome. You can choose Safari, you can choose Firefox, Brave, and there are a lot of them, but my recommendation will be to download and install Visual Studio Coder and also Google Chrome. And for just a little bit part of this course, you are going to be also need Node.js. So we are not going to be writing any Node.js kind of stuff for this course, but we are going to be installing packages. So for that you will need Node.js. So you can just write like nodejs.org/en, and it will bring you to this page right here. So you can just click on either the LTS version or the current version, so you can download any of them and it will still work. So that's it about just a setup stuff. So now how can we get started? So I want you to just come to the main page of Tailwind CSS, and then I want you to hold Control and hit /. So it will now give us this search documentation pop-up box right here. Okay, so here you can just search for anything you want, but in my case I'm going to just search for like installation, install, I'm very horrible at spelling, and also when I'm speaking I can't type. Anyways, so we have getting started Tailwind CSS. So I want you to just click on get started with Tailwind CSS. Okay, so it will now brings us to this link right here. So we have tailwindcss.com, then we are inside the docs, then inside the docs we are now installation page and using the post CSS. So we are not going to be using post CSS for this course, but instead we are going to be either using Tailwind CLI, or at the first fundamental section we are going to be using the play CDN. So we are going to be playing around with CDN. You can learn more about that, but it's just saying that copy this script and paste it into your own file, so it will just still work, and then you can use these classes. So I'm going to just create a file right here, I mean like folder, and I'm going to just give a name of like Tailwind CSS, and now I'm going to right click on it and open it. And I'm going to open it with the Visual Story Coder right here. So now we are inside this Tailwind CSS folder right here. I'm going to just create a new file, give a name of like index.html. Remember, we are going to be writing all of our code inside our index.html. So now let's just write our boilerplate, and I'm going to just give a name of like Tailwind CSS master class. Okay, so we are not going to be linking through anything, but I'm going to just copy that link from here. Let me just copy that, and I'm gonna just paste it right here. Okay, so I'll just paste it right here. Now what else do we have to do? I'm gonna just copy this h1 with these different kind of styling with it, and let me just hide this head area from there. Right click on it and open it with a live server, and I'm gonna show you that live server what it is just in a second. And here you can see we are now getting hello world with underline, but we didn't provide that. Okay, let me just remove this style and let me just write something else like I don't know, bg will be teal of 400, and also text will be wide like so. So if you save our file, and here you can see we are now getting different kind of styling, but we don't have any CSS, we don't have any CSS files right here. That's because of this script CDN, I mean like Tailwind CDN right here. Okay, so if you just comment this line out and if you save that, we don't have nothing, we don't have no styling whatsoever. So if you uncomment that, and here you can see we are now getting all of these styling. Anyway, so I'm going to just remove this h1 from here, and now let me just show you the extensions which I'm going to be using throughout this course. I'm going to go to just my extension right here, and here you can see I have auto rename tag. You can install that, but that's not necessary. And I have React. You don't have to install that, you don't have to install this one, not this one, but you have to install a live server. And if you want to use the same thing which I'm using, so you have to just install this Monokai Pro. So the thing I want you to install is that live server. This is important, and also post CSS language support. This one is important, and also Prettier and Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. So I want you to just install that in your Visual Story Coder, and then you're going to be good to go. So the next thing I want you to do is that I'm going to give you the link which will bring you to my GitHub repository, and you just have to download this starter file from there. And I'm going to also give you the finished solution, like all of the code which we are going to be writing. So if I just open this folder, so here you can see we just have two folders. So we have fundamentals, and inside this fundamental section we have all of the stuff which we are going to be learning just one by one, and also we have just 3 projects which we are going to be also building in this video. Anyways, so I'm going to give you a link to that, and you can just download that from my GitHub repository, or you can just write your code manually. So I'm going to just remove this Visual Story Coder from there, right click on it, and let me just open that folder in my Visual Story Coder. Okay, so say exit to that one. Alright, so now here you can see we open our folder inside Visual Story Coder, and let me just expand this folder, and let me just go to the colors folder, and here you can see we just have index.html file right here. If I double click on that, and it will now just open this file for us, and here you can see we just have our basic Tailwind CDN right here, which we put right here, and we just have a little bit of padding. I'm going to remove that for now. Yeah, I'm going to remove the what was that? Padding wireframes. So I'm not going to be providing any padding, or I'm going to leave that right here. I put that on purpose. So I'm going to save my file. I'm going to collapse this head area, and here you can see we have different kinds of links for different kind of topic which we are going to be learning in this video. So first we are going to be learning about the colors in different shades, then we are going to be learning about backgrounds color, and then we are going to be learning about text decoration and all kind of that good stuff. and finally we are going to be learning about accent colors. Okay, so let me just put that here. It's looking a bit weird, like so, and right click on it and open it with live server. So it will now open our file with a live server with and no content, nothing inside there. Okay, so we have our first link right here. So the first link will just brings us to the colors documentation of that Tailwind CSS right here. Okay, so we can also just search for that. So I want you to just hold control and hit slash, and it will give us that, and we can just search for like colors if you want to. And text decoration colors, we have text colors. So if you just click on text color, and it will now brings us to this web page right here. Like both of them are the same. Okay, not the same. So we have customizing color and we have text color. So both of them are kind of the same. So you can just choose it from here if you want to. And Tailwind CSS documentations are great. Okay, so I'm going to just go to this link, and here you can see we have different kind of colors with different kind of shades. So we have slate color, we have gray, zinc, and neutral, and there are a lot of colors right here. Okay, so a lot of colors with different kind of shades with it. So in this case, let's suppose if I want to work with maybe green ones, so we have shade of 15, shade of 100, and shade of 200, 300, and 400. Okay, so now let me just write this code right here. So I'm going to also give you these link in case if you want to go to their documentation. So I'm going to just write h1 of like one period of color with different shade. Okay, so I'm going to save my file, and let me just go in here, and now here you can see we have color with different shades. And now here you can see we are getting this padding. That's because we provide that padding right here inside our style sheet. We didn't learn about a padding, so that's why I just put that padding right here, just for a little bit of spacing from the body. So that's why I put that padding. Anyway, so now let's just work with our different kind of colors. So I'm going to just write a paragraph, and let me just put a tailwind in it. Okay, so if you save that, so we don't have any colors, nothing inside there, but we just have our simple paragraph right here. Let me just zoom in. Oh, you know what, just zoom out a bit, so that's looking better. Now if I want to provide a colors to it, so here you can see we have different kind of colors. Let me just put green colors to it. So I'm going to just provide text and then the color name. So I'm going to just put like green, and then the opacity, how much shade do you want to provide to this color. So I'm going to just write 50. So if you save our file, and now here you can see it's not showing, it's showing up right here, but it's a little bit lighter right here. But if you just provide instead of 50, if I set that to 100, and now if you save that, and it's a little bit darker than that 51, and we can just set that to 400, and here you can see we are now getting that Tailwind right here. Okay, let me just make that a bit smaller. Come on, let me just make that smaller so you guys can see everything a bit clear, like so. Let me just put it right here like that. All right, so that is let me just write 50, just 50, and I'm going to duplicate this line a few times. So the first value will be 50, the second value will be 100, the third value will be like 200, and we have 400, and let me just write 500. Okay, this one will be 300, and this one will be 400. Then we have a 500, and we have a 600 through 900. So let me just duplicate that a few times. Let me just write 600 and duplicate that a few times. So 600, 700, 800, and 900, and we don't have no more shades in there. I'm going to remove that last line, and now here you can see we just give him the class of text, then dash, and then we give him a color name, and then we just provide our shade to it. So now if you save our file, and now here you can see we get a different kind of shades, like we have 50% shade, 100, 200, 300, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is how you can play around with that. And by the way, if you want to change the color to like something else, like there are a lot of colors right here. Let's suppose if you want to work with violet, so I'm going to just copy that, and I'm going to just select that and hit Control D, and it will just select that, and I'm going to just replace that violet color to it, but it will be a lowercase violet. And now if you save that, now let's just check him out, and here you can see the color is changed to violet. So now if you want to provide a teal color, so you can also provide a teal, and now if you save that, and here you can see we are now getting a teal color. If you want to provide red color, blue color, green color, yellow color, whatever color you like. So I'm going to save that, And here you can see we are now getting different kinds of colors right here. So this is going to be it for the color section. So now let's just learn about a background color. So I'm going to just hold control and click on this link. So it will now open that link right here. I'm going to say bye-bye to that one and this one as well. And now if you want to provide a background color to something, it doesn't matter if there's a paragraph or whichever kind of element you have. So if you want to provide a background color to it, so we have a few properties for that. Let me just expand that. So here you can see, first of all, you're going to be writing a BG, then dash, and then the color name, and then opacity for that color or the shade of that color. Okay, so this is how it works. Let me just show you that real quick. So let me just write first of all a new title, or let me just write a BR in here just for breaking. BR HR for horizontal line and BR. So file, let's just work with our background colors. I'm gonna write H1 and then 2 of background colors. Okay, like so. I'm gonna zoom in a bit in this case. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I guess that would be fine. Let me just write a paragraph and I'm gonna give him a few clauses like I don't know, I'm gonna give him a BG of pink. Let me just write 600 and now let's just check how that will look like. So Tailwind, and now if you save our file and check him out, and here you can see now we provide a background of pink to it. If you want to change the text color, so for that we can just use text color. Let me just write text of totally white, and now if you save that, and it will now change the color to totally white, and the background color is kind of a pink color, but we provide opacity of 600. We can change that to 400, and here you can see it's looking a little bit slighter lighter, and this is how it looks like. Okay, so we have 500. Let me just go to the 500, and this is how it looks like. Okay, let me just duplicate this line and change the color to red and change the opacity to like 400 maybe, and text would be white. So I'm going to save my file, and this is how it looks like, kind of an orangish color, it's a red color, but we just changed the opacity to 400. Let me just duplicate that one more time and change that to blue, and the opacity will be 600 in this case. So if we save that, and now here you can see we are now getting that blue color right here. Okay, so what else do we have to do? Let me just copy these 2 BR and 1 HR from there, and I'm going to paste it right here. And now let's just learn about text declaration and all of that kind of a good stuff. I'm going to hold Control or Command, and I'm going to just click on this link, and it will now open that link right here. So we have different kind of declaration right here. So we have underline, we have overline, we have line through, we have no underline right here. So now let's just work with that. And here you can see it will work in a CSS like this. So we have text decoration line, it will be now set to underline. Then we have text decoration line, it will be now set to overline. Then we have line through and none. Okay, so this is going to be the result of that. Let me just write that, and then you'll get to know what I'm talking about. Let me just write H1 here and 3 period text decoration like so. And now inside this text decoration, or not inside but underneath this text decoration, I'm going to write a paragraph with the clause of line through. Okay, and I'm going to put like Tailwind in it, and now if you save our file, and now here you can see we are now getting this line through right here. I'm going to duplicate this line of code, and I'm going to change that to underline. So I'm going to write like underline, and now if you save that, and now here you can see we are now getting underline right here. And now let me just duplicate that one more time and change that to like line through, and we can also change the decoration color of it. So I'm going to just write decoration, and then the color will be, I don't know, like purple will be fine, and I'm going to just give him a little bit of shading off 400. So if you save our file, and now here you can see we now change the color of that decoration to pink, like purple. We can also change it to blue, save it, and this is how the blue will look like. So we can just play around with that. Anyways, so we have underline. Now let's just learn about overline. So I'm going to duplicate this underline right here, and I'm going to change that to overline. And now if you save our file, and now here you can see it will now give us overline. You know what? I'm going to comment this line out. I'm going to also comment that line out and save our file. And now here you can see it will now give us line overline right here. I'm going to just undo these steps. And now if you save our file, so this is how we can play around with that. So now let me just write another paragraph with the clause of text will be purple and 600. Let me just write 600, 600, not 400. And now let me just give him underline clause to it, and also decoration will be now set to purple. of 400. Okay, and now let me just put a Tailwind inside that. So if you save our file, and here you can see everything is now purple right here. Okay, let me just zoom out a bit so you guys can see everything a bit better. So here you can see we just provide a few clauses like text will be purple with a shade of 600, and it will be also underlined, and the underlined text will be also purple with a 400 shade to it. Okay, so now let's just learn about accent color. Okay, so if you just click on that, it will now brings us to this page right here, and we have a few utility classes for accent color, so we can just play around with that. Everything is like the same as we learned. Let me just click on this show less, and here you can see this is going to be the browser default checkbox right here, and we can also change the color of that by using these accent color right here. Okay, so first of all, we are going to be writing like the accent color. First of all, we are going to be writing an accent, and then we are going to be writing a dash, and then the color name, and then the opacity or the shade of that color. Okay, so now let's just work with that. I'm going to copy this HR and BR from there, and I'm going to put it right here. Okay, like so, and I'm going to also put it underneath this so that we get a little bit of spacing while we are working on that. So let me just write H1 of 4 as in colors. Okay, so let me just get my input, and we want to get our checkbox in this case. And you know what, I'm not going to give any classes. So if you save that, and here you can see we have our default browser checkbox right here, but we can also change the color of that. Let me just duplicate that, and let's just write a class of, I don't know, accent first of all, and then indigo, and we can change the shade to be like 500 would be fine. And if you save our file, and now if you click on this one, this is a blue, and now okay, so it's a little bit it's indigo. You can see that, you can see the difference. Like this one is blue totally, and this one is a bit indigo. Let me just change the color to something else, like I don't know, yellow. And now if you save that, and now if I click on this one, this is the browser default one, and now if I click on that one, so here you can see we are now getting this kind of a yellow color. We can also duplicate that and change the color to something else, like I don't know, red would be fine. So save that. This one will be the browser default, this one will be yellow, and this one will be red. We can also change it to like something else, maybe I don't know, teal, maybe my favorite color, teal. Save that, and now if you click on that, so it will now use us teal color right there. So these are accent color, so you can work with that. And we can also provide a default what do we call it, so we can also provide default checked or attributed. So if you just write checked, so this one is now checked. Okay, yeah, this one is a default one, and the second one is checked, so we can cut that from there. Or you know what, let me just paste it in all of these areas. So let me just write checked and save it, and all of them are now checked, and I'm gonna also put it right here. So save our file, and everything is now totally checked. So now we are totally done with text color. We learn about a text color, we learn about a background color, we also learn about a few declaration or decoration, whatever you want to call it, and we also learn about accent colors. And if you want to learn more about these colors and stuff, so I've already give you different kinds of links for the different kinds of documentations. So if you want to learn that, I'm going to close this file, and I'm going to just open this new file, which is a container and spacing. So we don't have nothing, but we just have our Tailwind CSS CDN right here, and we are now selecting the body, and we are just getting a little bit of spacing. I'm going to collapse this head area from there, right click on it and open it with live server. So it will now open our file in a live server, totally empty right here. We don't have no content, nothing inside there. So first of all, we are going to be learning about margins, then we are going to be learning about arbitrary spacing. Okay I forgot one thing to mention in colors. Oh my goodness, right click on it and open it with live server. So let me just mention the final topic of this video about the colors. I'm going to duplicate that like so, and we don't have accent color, do we? I guess I forgot the link, but we can also search for our arbitrary colors in Tailwind CSS. So let me just go to the Tailwind CSS, and let me just make that a bit bigger, and let's just search for accent, not accent color, we already learned about that. So let me just write arbitrary colors. Okay, so let's just click on that. Arbitrary values for a color. So if you want to provide your own colors, so these are the Tailwind CSS colors. Like we have accent color, we have different kind of colors like pink. We just provide a share of 500, and there are a few colors which we just saw about Tailwind. So if you have your own colors, so you can also put your own color if you want. So you just have to select your element and then provide that color to it. So you just have to write text and then the color will be there. Like let me just copy that, and I'm going to show you that just in a second. And let me just write I don't know, this one is fourth one, so let me just write h1 of 5 and arbitrary colors. Okay, so let me just put a different kind of colors to it. So paragraph will be Tailwind, and let me just write class of, I don't know, text and then this color. Okay, so whenever you want to put your own color, so first of all you are going to be writing an opening bracket and then the closing bracket, and then you can put your own color if you want to. So if you save that, and now let's just check it out. And now here you can see we are now getting this kind of a green color, and we can just duplicate that and we can get like different kind of colors. So let's suppose if we want to get a totally black color, so we can just write 000, and if you save that, it will now give us totally black color. If you want to get a totally white color, so you can just write totally FFF, so it will now give us totally white color right here. Okay, so let me just write a different kind of color, like I don't know, C0, not C9 but C0, and one more time C0. And now if you save that, and here you can see it will now give us kind of a grayish color. And let me just duplicate that and change the color to like FF0CD0. And now if you save that, it will now give us kind of a pinkish, creamish kind of pink color right here. So this is how you can provide arbitrary color to Tailwind CSS classes or element, whatever you have. Anyways, so enough about the colors. Now let's get into our spacing and stuff. So in this section we are going to be learning about margins, we are going to be learning about arbitrary spacing or arbitrary, however you want to pronounce that, and then we are going to be learning about padding and space between X and also space between Y. Alright, so we already opened that. Let me just close that one. Let me just close this Tailwind CSS from there, and now let's just work with that. So if you want to work with the margins, so now let's just learn about that first of all, and then we can work with that. Alright, so if you want to provide a margin, so you just have to provide a M and then dash and then how much margin you want to provide. So by default it will be now set to 0. So we can also provide it for the x-axis. So x-axis will be for the left and for the right, and we can also provide it for the y-axis, like for top and bottom. We can also provide it for the just for top. We can also provide it for just for the right, just for the bottom, just for the left, and all of these kind of good stuff. So first of all you are going to be writing the M, and then you just have to write a dash and then how much margin you want to provide. So now let's just start working with that. Alright, so I'm going to just start working with margin. So I'm going to write h3 right here, and I'm going to give him like I don't know, 1 of margin. And now let's just start working with that. So I'm going to write a div with the class of M and then dash 4. Okay, so let me just also give him a background of yellow, and I guess 100 would be fine, and margin for all around. So if you save our file, and now here you can see it will now put margin for the left, for the top, for the bottom, and also for the right. If you just remove this M and 4 from there, so if you save that, and here you can see no margin, nothing inside there. So if you want to provide a margin for all around, so we just have to write M and then the value for the margin. So I'm going to just write like 1, and now if you save that, it will now put a one pixel, not 1 pixel, but there are different kind of margins. Let me just show you that. So if you just write let's just see, if you just write like M 0.5, so it will now provide 0.125 rem margin to it, which means like 2 pixel. If you just write like 1 pixel margin all around, so it will now just provide like 4 pixel margin, and you can just learn a lot about margin values right here. So there are different kind of margin values which you can learn from. I'm not going to be wasting your time, so I'm going to just show you that, and you can explore that in your free time. So this is going to be it for margin all around. Let me just create a new div with the class of mx and then 4. Okay, or you know what, let me just create a div and then you'll get to know what I'm talking about. So we have margin from x axis like so, and now let's just duplicate then and change that to y-axis. So this one is going to be for the x-axis, and the other one will be for the y-axis. And let's just remove the margin top, and then we have not top axis but just margin top, then we have a margin right, and we also have a margin for the left. Let's just duplicate that, and we also have margin for the bottom. Okay, so now we write our HTML code. If we save that, and this is how everything looks like for now. And now let's just learn about a margin. So if you want to provide a margin for the x-axis, like for the left and for the right, so you can just write mx and then dash however margin you want to provide. So I'm going to just write like, I don't know, 4, and let me just write bg of yellow one more time and 200 pixel. And now if you save that, and now here you can see it will now provide margin for the x-axis. If you want to provide a margin for the y-axis, so you just have to write class and then my margin for the y-axis, and then provide different kind of margin to it. So let me just write a bg of yellow one more time with a shade of 300 pixels. So if you save that, and this is how it looks like. So margin for the top and margin for the bottom right here. Okay, so let's just learn how we can provide margin just for the top. So we can just write m like for margin and t for the top, and we can just provide different kind of margin, like 6% will be fine, and bg yellow, and let's just provide 400 pixel to it. So if you save that, and it will now give us margin just for the top right here. If you just remove that, let me just remove that and see. So here you can see we don't have no margin, and we are now getting this margin. That's because of this margin y-axis. So we have 4% margin right here. Let me just pass this margin one more time, and we are now getting margin for the top. And if you want to get margin for the right, so you can just write like mr and then 4. Okay, so like margin for the right, and bg will be yellow, and I don't know, let me just put like 5% to it. So save our file. So we are now just getting margin for the right. We can also get margin for the left as well. So for that we can just write ml like margin for the left, and then the margin value, and then bg yellow or whichever kind of color you like. I'm going to just go with like, I don't know, 800 pixel, or not pixel but 8% of shade. You know what, 7% would be fine. 7%, save our file, and this is how it looks like. And finally, if you want to provide margin for the bottom, so you can just write mb for margin bottom, and then you can just provide how much margin you want, and bg yellow, you can give different kind of colors to it. So save our file, and here you can see we are now getting the margin, but we can't see that. Let me just right click on it and open it with the not live server, but in our dev tools, and let me just go to the bottom like so. And now if I just click on that one right here, so here you can see we are now getting margin for the bottom. If I click on this one, we are now getting margin for the left. If I click on that one, we are now getting margin for the right, and so on and so forth. So here you can see the margin for the top. Anyways, so I'm going to just zoom in a bit, and this is how it looks like right now. So enough about a margin. So now let's just learn about arbitrary spacing. So if you want to provide margin for anywhere and how much you want, so for that we can just use like you know what, so I'm going to just write div, and I'm going to just put like number 2 of margin all around. I'm going to just write margin all around, and if you save that, and here we are getting that margin all around. So if you want to provide arbitrary margin, so we can just write like m, and for all around we want to get 200 pixel margin. Okay, you can use a rem value, you can use the m value, you can use whichever kind of value you like, but in my case I just want to provide margin for all around 200 pixel, and I want to provide a background color of, I don't know, bg, and then slate of 700 shades. So 700, and if you save that, and here you can see it will now provide margin for all around 200 pixels. So we can just change that to like I don't know, let me just change that to 100 pixel, and now if you save that, and here you can see we are now getting margin for all around just 100 pixel. So this is how we can provide arbitrary margin to it. So we just have to write our opening bracket and closing bracket. So inside this bracket we can just provide our arbitrary value. Okay, so now let's just learn about a padding. So padding will be the same, but instead of writing m, we are going to be just writing p. So let me just write that in here. So I'm going to write h3, and let me just write 3 in it, and padding. Save our file, and now we are working on a padding section. And now let's just work with a div. Let me just write a div, and inside this div I'm going to just write padding all around, and boom. Okay, if you save that and padding all around, and now let's just start working on that. First of all, I'm going to give him a background of I don't know, lime and 100. So if you save that, and now we are getting this kind of a lime background right here. And now let's just work with the padding. So if you want to provide padding for all around, so you just have to write p dash and then the value of the padding. Okay, so which means like padding for all around. So if you save a file, it will now use us padding for the top, for the bottom, for the left, and also for the right. Okay, so this is going to be a padding for all around. Let me just write that other value like div and padding for the x-axis and duplicate that a few times, and then we have padding for the y-axis, and we just have padding for the top, duplicate that padding for the right, duplicate that padding for the left, okay, top, right, left, and padding for the bottom. Okay, so we have top, right, left, and bottom. Anyways, so if you want to provide padding to it, let me just see, and this is how it looks like right now. And if you want to provide padding for the x-axis, so you can just write p and x, which means like padding for the x-axis, and then just write the padding value. And let me just change the you know what, I'm gonna first of all give them classes of different kind of colors. I'm gonna copy that, paste it right here, change that to 200, and let me just provide that in here one more time. Select the multi-cursor selection, and this one will be now set to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and now let's just work with our padding. If you save a file, and now we are getting these kind of a what do we call it, these kind of a lime colors, background colors. So now if you want to provide padding for the y-axis, so we are going to be writing py and then the value for the padding like I don't know, 4. And now if you save that, and it will now just provide a padding for the y-axis. This is going to be for the x-axis, and this is going to be for the y-axis. Now let's just provide a padding for a top. So for that we can just write P and T, like padding for the top. So padding for the top we want like 6%. So if you save that, it will just provide padding for the top. You know what, that color is kind of odd, so I'm gonna change the color to like indigo. If you save that, and yeah, that's looking better. And yeah, let's just learn about how we can provide padding for the right. So we can just write PR and then value for the right, like save that, and here we can't see that but we get a padding for the right, PR for the padding for the right. We can also get padding for the left, so PL, and then the value for the padding like I don't know, we can just provide add to it. So let me just put an add. And now here you can see we are now getting padding for the left right here. And now let's just learn about padding for the bottom. If you want to provide padding for the bottom, so you just have to write PB and then the padding value, like if you want to provide arbitrary value, so you just have to write opening bracket and closing bracket. So here you can just specify how much padding you like. If you want to write 100 pixel and save that, and it will now give us 100 pixel of padding right here. Okay, so you can play around with the padding for the margin and so on and so forth. And I have already give you this documentation if you want to check that out. And now let's just learn about a space between X and space between Y. And I know we didn't cover something called a Flexbox, but we will cover that just very shortly. So utility classes for the spacing, if you want to provide spacing for the x-axis, so this is how it will look like. So you just have to write this class, and this is how it will give us the result, like margin for the left 0, and we have different kind of values to it. So we are going to be using a Flexbox for now, just a test of a Flexbox, but we are not going to be learning that much about a Flexbox. So you know what, I'm going to change that to 5 pixel, 50 pixel to be precise. And now let's just write our coding. I'm going to put that one up above, and then we have our, you know, I'm going to put that right here. So first of all, let's just learn about the SpaceX, SpaceX, Elon Musk. So now let's just learn about a spacing between x-axis. So we can just write h3, and let me just give my title of like space between x, and let's just create our div with the class of flex. And you know what, let me just create a div. Inside this div we are going to have a few more divs. So we have o1, and duplicate that we have o2, and then we have o3. All right, here. And now let's just style that a bit. So I'm going to just do a multi-cursor selection, and first of all I'm going to provide a padding for the all around, and padding all around will be just 3, and I'm going to also give a background of teal, and the first value will be just 100, then we have a 200, and then we have a 300 right here, and then we have a 300 value. So if we save our file, and this is how it looks like right here, but here we are going to be using a flex box right here. So I'm going to just write flex. I know we didn't cover a flex box right here, but we will cover flex box very shortly, very soon. In this section we have flex right here, so we are going to be learning about a flex box just in a second. Anyway, so if you want to provide spacing between the x-axis, so you can just write space dash x, and then let's just write 4, and now if you save that, it will just provide spacing between these items right here. Okay, and this is a flexbox property, but I'm covering it right here because we are learning about containers and layouts. So this is going to be the spacing for the x-axis, and now let's just duplicate that, and let's just copy that, and I'm gonna paste it right here and change this one to space y, and yeah, that's going to be it. And instead of space x, I'm gonna change that to space y, and now if you save that, and here you can see we are getting kind of an odd result. So we have to change that to what do we call it, flex and then column. And now if you save that, and now we are getting spacing between the columns right here. So if you just remove that, let me just remove that, and this is how it looks like, and we can provide different kind of spaces to it. So we can change that to like 2 maybe. So if you save that, and it will just decrease the spacing between these items right here. Alright, so now that we are totally done with the spacing, margin, padding, arbitrary margin and padding, and all kind of container and spacing stuff, so now let's get into the typography section. So I'm going to just open this file, and we don't have, okay, so we do provide a padding for the top of 20%. So let's just collapse this head area right here, and we do have that CDN, by the way. And now let's just collapse this head area and right click on it and open it with live server. So it will now open our file with live server with no content, nothing inside there. So in this section we are going to be learning about font sizing, then we are going to be learning about font family, font weight, letter spacing, text alignment, and text decoration, and finally we are going to be learning about a text transform property in Tailwind CSS. So first of all, let's just click on this link. So it will now open this link right here. So we have different kind of sizes for our font size. So we have extra small, we have small, we have a base, we have a large, we have extra large. Let's just expand that. Then we have a 2XL, 3XL, 4XL, and so on until 9XL. And trust me, we are never going to be using 9XL in our life, but we do have a value for a 9XL as well. So now let's just learn that. So now let's just write some code, then you'll get to know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to just click on my typography section, and let me just write H1 right here and 1 period font size. Okay, so let's just create a div with the class of container, and I'm going to also give him a background of teal and 100, and I'm going to also give him the padding all around 7%, and I'm going to also give him a margin for the bottom of 10. Okay, so we have this kind of container which we are going to be working with. So I'm going to save my file, and here you can see we are now getting this kind of a teal background. And let me just write a paragraph, and let's just put a Tailwind. Tailwind is awesome. Okay, so this is going to be our text, and this is how it looks like for now. Okay, so now if you want to change the font size of that to something else, let me just zoom out a bit, and this is how it looks like. So if you want to change the font size of that to something else, so for that we can use just a class of text. And first of all, we are going to be learning about extra small, and now if we save that, and it will just make it extra small right here. Okay, so let's just duplicate that, and now let's just learn about SM for small. And now if you save that, the second one will be just a little bit smaller, and now let's just duplicate that and change it to the base, and I guess this is kind of a default one. So if you save that, and yeah, this is kind of a default font size, so duplicate that, and let's just write LG for large and save it, and we are now getting a little bit larger font size right here. Just duplicate that. Okay, let's just duplicate this line of code, and let me just write XL, or not XL, yeah, XL would be fine, like extra large. And now if you save that, and it will now give us a little bit extra large font size right here. We have a few more. Let's just duplicate that a few times, and let's just change this one. Or you know what, I'm not going to be duplicating that. Just duplicate this line of code, and let's just write 2XL, like 2 times extra large. And here you can see it will now give us 2 times extra large, we have 3XL, 4XL. Let me just write there, and then you will see the difference. So just duplicate that a few times. Then we have 4XL, 5XL, 6XL. We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7XL, and duplicate that 2 times. We have a 8XL, and then finally we have a 9XL. So if you save that, and this is how it looks like right here. Let me just zoom out a bit. And this is how it looks right here. We have an extra small, then we have a small, then we have a medium small or smile. Then we have a medium small or small, and then we have a base, then we have a little bit of large, extra large, and so on and so forth. So we have these kind of font sizes in our Tailwind CSS. Okay, so this is going to be it for this one. And now let's just learn about a font families. So we have a few font families right here. We can import our own, like we can customize our own, but we don't have to worry about that for now. So if you just give them a class of font sans, it will now give us a font of sans serif, like we have a UI sans serif, system UI, and then so we have different kind of a font families. And then we have a serif fonts, we have a collection of serif fonts, and then we have a font of mono, just a little bit of spacing between our letters. So this is how it will look like. So we have font sans serif, sans serif, yeah. Then we have a serif, and then we have a mono spaces right here, and we can customize our own, but you don't have to worry about that for now. Alright, so I'm gonna just start our coding right here. I'm gonna just write h1 and then font, not size but family. Okay, and let's just create a div with a class of container with a class of bg indigo of 200% shade, and not paragraph but padding will be 10 pixel, not 10 pixel but 10% all around, and MB margin for bottom 10%. Alright, so if you save that, and this is how it looks like right here, one new section. Alright, so now let's just work with the font families. So I'm going to write a paragraph, and Tailwind is awesome, save it, and this is how it looks like right here. So we get a font family of sans serif by default, but we can change that to serif and sans serif, so on and so forth. So if you just provide a class of font sans, so if you save that, and it's by default a sans serif right here, I guess that's a Tailwind CSS behavior. It will give us sans serif font by default. I'm not sure about that. I'm going to duplicate that and change this one to serif, so it will also gives us a serif font. So here you can see this one is serif. That's because this one have that caps right here. So we have serif there at the bottom, and here you can see the difference between sans serif and serif font. So if you guys don't know about what a serif and a sans serif font is, so you can check out my HTML and CSS course, and I went crazy on fonts on that course. Anyway, so if I just write a mono, and if you save that, and here you can see we are now getting these kind of a cartoonish font right here, and we can customize our own, but we are not going to. Anyways, so that was it for a font family. Now let's just learn about font weight. So if you click on this one, it will now brings us to these docs right here. So we have font weight of thin and extra light, normal, medium, semi-bold, bold, extra bold, and black. Okay, so we have these kind of different what do we call it, font weights right here inside a Tailwind CSS. Alright, so now let's just work with the font weights real quick. I'm going to just write, first of all, that same container. I'm going to copy the styling from this container. Let me just copy there and create a div, just div, and let me just give them these classes to it. Okay, so if you save our file, and we are getting the indigo, let's just change the color to orange, maybe orange, save it, and now we are getting the orange section right here. Alright, so now let's just learn about a font weight. So first of all, I'm going to write a paragraph. Tailwind is awesome, save it, and now we are getting this font weight right here, and let's just write a different kind of font weight to it. So I'm going to give a class of font light, and now if you save that, so now here you can see this one is a bit lighter than these ones right here. So we have different kind of font weights in Tailwind CSS. So now let's just duplicate that and change this one from light to normal, and if you save that, and this is going to be the normal, and let's just remove that from here. If you just remove that, save it, and it will be just a default kind of a font weight. And let's just duplicate this line of code and change this one to medium, medium, and save it. So this is going to be a little bit medium kind of a boldness. Duplicate that and change this one to semi bold, semi bold, and now if we save there, and this is going to be the semi bold, change this one to bold, save it, and this is going to be our pure bold font weight right here. And I guess I forgot to, let me just cut that from there, and let me just put it right here. So we have a font WEIGHTS, so different kind of font weight. So this is going to be the first section, and this is going to be the first section, this second one, and let's just change this one to the third one. Yeah, that's cool. Now let's just learn about a letter spacing. So I'm going to click on that one, this link, and it will now brings us to this page right here. So we have tracking tighter, tracking tight, tracking normal, and wide, wider, widest. We have different kind of values for a letter spacing in here right here. So now let's just write our coding, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. Let me just copy this container, and I'm going to paste it right here and change this one to letter spacing, and change this title to be full, and also change the color to be indigo. I guess not indigo, but red would be fine, so it will give us kind of a creamy red. And I'm going to also remove these few clauses from there, and let's just remove this font one, let's just remove that one, and also this one as well. And now we are good to go. So if you save our file and check it out, and this is how it will look like right here. Let me just start with the tight one. So tracking tight. So if you save that, okay, I guess I misspelled it. Not tight, but tight. Come on, save it, and this is how it looks like right here. So here you can see, I guess you can notice that, but we don't have that much spacing inside these one. These are kind of a tight right here. Let me just zoom in a bit so you guys can see everything a bit better. So these are tracking tight, and we can also provide a tracking normal. So I'm gonna just write normal, and now if you save that, this is going to be the normal one. Copy that, paste right here, and change this one to I don't know, wide would be fine. And if we save that, and this one is a little bit wider, so we can just copy the widest if you want to. Let me just copy that and duplicate that and paste this one right here. So if you save that, and here you can see this one is the widest right here. So here you can see we have a lot of spacing inside these fonts, so you can just use these letter spacing properties if you want to. So this is going to be it for the letter spacing. So now let's just learn about a text alignment, and I really like a text alignment property. I really enjoy showing people how to work with a text alignment property. So I'm gonna click on this link, and it will now open it right here. So we have different kind of alignments. So we have text to the left, this is going to be the default one. We have text for the center, for the right, for justify, and start and end as well. So now let's just learn about that. So I'm going to just duplicate that, I'm going to copy it from there, and I'm going to paste it right here and change this one title to be something else like 05, not 05, but just 5 text alignment. Text alignment, I guess I misspelled it, but anyways. So let's just remove this from here, save our file. And yeah, it's cool, but now let's just change the color to something else like cyan would be fine, or sand, or cyan, however you want to pronounce it. Or you know what, amber color would be fine. So I'm going to change this one to amber, and now if you save that, and yeah, amber amber color. So paragraph, and let me just write Tailwind is awesome. Save our file. Tailwind is awesome. And now let's just give him a classes of what? We are going to be giving a class of text to the left, and this is going to be the default one. Just duplicate that and change that to like text of center, and now if you save that, and this one will be now center, and we can also write text to the right, and now if you save that, and this is going to be the right. Okay, so I'm going to copy this one. We are now totally done with the text alignment. Now let's just learn about a text decoration and all of that kind of good stuff. So first of all, let me just place that right here and change this one to text decoration style. So we have 7, I guess, no, we don't have 7, we have a 6th one. Yeah, 6th, and text decoration, DOCORATION, like so. And then we have our container and stuff, and let's just write our underline like so. And we can also change the decoration size to something else like decoration dot, not dot but dash 4. And now if we save that, and it will now give us that decoration of 4 pixel or percent aligned to it. We can also change that to 2, and we can also increase or decrease that if you want to. I guess that 4 will be fine. I'm going to remove this text center from there. I'm going to also remove this text line from there as well. Okay, so now let's just write line 3. We already learned about line 3 and all of that kind of stuff, but let me just write line 3 and change the decoration color decoration, change the decoration to 1. And now if you save that, so we have decoration. And now let's just change this one to or line. And now if you save that, so we have or line. So I don't know why I put that inside my finished project, but anyways, that's good to know as well. And now let's just learn about 7 text decoration, not text decoration, but just a decoration style. So we have different kind of style. So let's just learn about that real quick. So if you save that, and by the way, I forgot to change the color of these to something else. Like we have amber, so we can just change that to something else, like I don't know, cyan, and this is going to be the cyan one. What I'm going to do is that all of them will have the class of underline. I'm going to remove that one, this class as well, this class. I'm going to copy that, paste it right here, paste it right here, and now let's just start from there. Okay, so if you want to provide different kind of style for a decoration, so you can just write decoration, and then let's just provide dash and then solid. So we already said that it will give us text decoration of solid right here, but we can change that to something else. So we can just copy that and paste it right here, and we have a double. So if you just write double, and if you save that, it will now give us double line right here. I guess you can't see that, but here you can see we have, oh my god, all right, so we have a double line right here. That will be fine. I guess that will be fine. And we can also change it to dotted if you want to. So I'm going to paste it right here and change this one to dotted. And if we save that, and this one will be now dotted. Now let's just duplicate this line of code and change that to dashed. So we can also change that to dashed, and this is how the dash will look like. We can also change that to the wavy to be precise. So if we save that, and this is how the wavy will look like. So these are a few style for a decoration. You can use that if you want to, and we can also change the offset of that if you want to. So let me just copy all of that, and let's just change the offset of that to something else. Okay, so I messed it up in here. Let's just duplicate this line of code, and we have decoration offset like so. Instead of that solid and this stuff, I'm going to select that, and you know, I'm going to select this one and remove the other one. And now let's just start working on our offset. So I'm going to just provide offset of 1. So if you save that, and let's just change the color to from cyan to indigo. And I just realized that this is a decoration. It shouldn't have to be decoration. I'm going to duplicate that and change this one to underline as well. So we have different kind of offset for different kind of underline properties. So I'm going to remove that from there, and I'm going to paste this one. So we have offset of 1, we have offset of 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so we can just play around with that, like maybe 8 would be fine. And if you save that, and we can also get this kind of offset right here, so this kind of a spacing in there. I guess I'm missing something, so anyways, that's fine. So we have 7 decoration, and now finally let's just learn about a transformation, like text transform of uppercase, lowercase, and all of that kind of good stuff. So I'm going to paste this link right here. I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to remove the styling from this text. Remove that, and now let's just learn about this. So we have uppercase, we have lowercase, we have capitalized, we have normal cases, and this is how it will look like. So normal will be just a normal text, like however you wrote that text, and then we have uppercase, and uppercase will just make everything uppercase. Then we have lowercase, it will just make it to the lowercase, like smaller, and then we have a capitalized. So every first letter of the word will be uppercase, and the rest of them will be lowercase. So this is how it will looks like. So let me just write that real quick. So we have a normal case, then we have uppercase, and then we have a lowercase, lower and case, and then we have then we have a capitalized. And let's just remove that final one. So if you save that, and now let's just check him out, and we have a normal case, then we have a capitalized, then we have a lowercase, and then we have not capitalized, but this one will be uppercase, this one will be lowercase, and this one will be capitalized. So now let's just change this color to pink, and yeah, we can see the difference. So yeah, that's looking great. So in this section, we just learned a lot about typography. We learn about the font sizes. We also learn about font family. We learn about font weights. We also learn about letter spacing and text alignment and text decoration offset, and text decoration styles as well, and decoration. Okay, we learn about offset 2 times. No, it should have to be text decoration. This one will be the 8th one. And transform, yeah, transform will be fine. Okay, so now everything is looking better. Alright, so now that we are totally done with this typography section, so the next thing which you have to cover is something called sizing. So in this section, first of all, let me just hide this header area. So in this section, we are going to be learning about the widths, percentages, max width of the viewport, arbitrary width, heights, min height, max height, full screen height, and width auto. So this is what we are going to be learning. I'm going to click on this one, so it will now open this docs for us. So if you want to provide a width, first of all, you're going to be just writing a W, and then you can just specify how much width you want. There are different kinds of classes we have, like we have W1, which means like width of 0.25 rem and 4 pixels. So this is going to be the result in pixel, and we can just go on, and we have 36, 40, 60, 80 auto. Okay, so we have different kinds of widths. So now let's just start working on our coding, and then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So first of all, let me just right click on it and open it with the live server so that everything is working the way we expect them to work. Alright, so first of all, let me just write h1 and width all around. So if you want to provide width for all around, so for that we can just write a div first of all, and background will be teal and 100% of shade, and padding will be all around 5 pixels. So this is going to be some sort of our container. Okay, so inside this container, let me just save that, and here you can see we have this container. So inside this container, we are going to be writing a div, and let me just write a div, and let me just put a 0 inside there. Okay, so now let me just give a class of background of teal, and 600 would be fine. Now if you want to give a width of 0, so you can just write a width of 0, and if you save that, so nothing is happening right now. So background teal and teal. You know what, we will see that just in a second. We can change the background to be like chrome, I don't know, red. Save it. Something is not working. BG red, and we have BG teal. Okay, let's just see. Okay, we didn't provide any widths to it, so that's why we cannot see something. Oh my god, so teal will be fine, or we can just stick to a red. Now I'm going to duplicate this line of code a lot of time, and then we're going to be playing with these properties. Or you know what, I'm going to just duplicate them one by one so that you guys can see everything a bit better. If you just write a width of 1 to it, and let me just put a 1 inside there and save it, and here you can see it will now use us the, I guess it was a 4 pixel width. Let me just see. We have different kind of values right here. So width of 1, if we specify that, so it will now give us 4 pixel of width, and this list can go on and on and on. So now let's just explore a few other of them. So now let me just duplicate that, and let me just write 1.5 in it. So 1.5, and let me just save that, and here you can see 1.5. where is that? 1.5 will give us a 0.375 rem and 6 pixel of height, or not height but width to be precise, and this is how it looks like. And now let's just duplicate that a few more times. So let's just put 2 in it, and also replace this label to 2, and you know what, let me just write that, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So 3 for this one, and this one is also going to be 3. I don't want to waste your time and also mine, so I'm going to just fast forward that a bit. So we have 5, and then we have 6, and let me just change that to 6, and let me just select both of them at the same time and change this one to 7. Okay, 7, duplicate that, change this one to 8, then to the 9, 10, duplicate that to 11, duplicate that one more time, and we have 12 value, we have 14 value, we have 16 value. Let me just change that to 20 and duplicate that one more time, and we have the value for 24, and then we have the value for 28. Let me just write 28 like so. Let's just duplicate there, and then we have a value for 32, so 32, and let's just do what, 36 would be fine. And then we have a 64 value. Duplicate that one more time, and there are a lot of values, and you can also provide arbitrary width to it if you want to, which I'm going to also show you just in a second, but I want you to just stick with me. And 96 would be the final one. So if you save there, and here you can see we have different kind of widths right here. So we have width of like 0, 1, 1.5, 2, 3, 5, 6, and there are a lot of widths, and this is how it looks like right here. And we can also provide what do we call it, we can also provide padding to it. So let me just do a multi-selection in here, and let me just provide a little bit of padding to it. So like, not padding but margin, so margin will be 1 and C, and this is how it looks like right here. Okay, so now we are totally done with the width. So if you want to provide width for all around, so first of all you're going to write the W and then the dash, and then specify which kind of width you want to provide to it. Okay, so these are just the basics of the width. So now let's just learn about percentages, like how can we do percentages in width. So let's just learn that. Let me just scroll down, and this is the width properties which we have right here. And we can also do percentages right here by using 1/2 and 1/2, then we have 2/5, and then we have different kind of values for that. So we can also do percentages if you want to. Let me just show you the percentages real quick. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just write H1, and let me just give a margin for the top of 5 pixel, and I'm going to copy this label from there, and I'm going to put it right here. And let's just write our div, so bg of teal, like background will be teal, 400 pixel, and I'm going to also give the margin for the bottom 5, and padding will be 5 all around, so this will be 5. Okay, so if you save that, and let's just check him out, and this is how it looks like first of all. And now I'm going to create a div, and let me just write 1/2. Okay, so let me just do a percentages in it. So background will be, now in this case, green, and 400, I'm going to write like 400, and padding for all around will be just 2, and margin for the bottom will be 4. And what else can we do? Let me just write that W like for width, and we can also do percentages like 1 and 2, 1/2. And now if you save that, and here you can see it will now gives us the half of the width right here. Okay, so let's just duplicate that to 1 and then 3, and let's just change this label to 3 as well. And here you can see it will just decrease there, and you can learn more about this what do we call it, percentages width right here. So percentages width, use the W and then the fraction or W full to set an element to the percentage based width. Okay, so we can use that in Flexbox and stuff. So resetting the width to W auto, you don't have to worry about that for now. Okay, so let's just see. Anyway, so now let me just write another code. I don't like this background of teal. Let me just change that to something else, like, I don't know, indigo. And now if you save that, yeah, that's looking better. And now I'm going to just duplicate this line of code to 1.4, not 1.4, but 1/4. And let me just put a 1/4, and let me just write all of the value, and then you will see what's going on. So let me just put 2/4, and then we have a 3/4, and I'm going to also change that to 3 as well. And then finally we have just like 1/5 and 1/5. And now if you save that, and here you can see we can use different kind of percentages right here. Alright, so that's for the width, that's for the percentages by using a width. And now let's just learn about a max width real quick. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on this link right here, so it will now open the documentation for the max width. And if you want to provide a max width, so first of all you're going to write a keyword of max, then dash, and then W, then dash, and then the value. So we have the max width of extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, and then 2XL, 4XL, and then we have a W full for the full or 100% width. we have for the minimum, we have for the maximum even, so max content and fit content, and we have different kind of values for that. So now let's just write some code, then you will get to know how to work with this max width and stuff. So first of all, let me just write h1 in it, and let me just give a margin for the top of 5 pixel or whatever. So max width, let me just put the max width in it like so, and now if you save that, it will now give us just a little bit of spacing right here from the top. Anyways, so let me just write div with a class of bg yellow and 100% of shading. So padding will be now just not 100 but 10 would be fine. And now let me just give a margin for the bottom of what, 10 pixel or 10%. And now let me just put a lorem of 100 in it. So if you just write lorem 100, and if you hit tab, and it will now give us 100 words. So if you save that, and here you can see we have this container right here, and we provide a little bit of padding to it. And I guess we also we have margin for the bottom just a little bit, so we can see our content. So if you want to provide a max width to this container, so we will just first of all select our container, and then we can write a max keyword, then dash, and then the width, and then we can just use like LG for large. And now if you save that, and boom. Okay, this is how it will looks like on the max width of large. We can also provide SM for small, so it will just make it small. We can also write 2XL if you save that, and this is how the 2XL looks like. And you can explore all of these properties, I mean like all of these values right here. So we have, what do we call it, so let's just see, we have 3XL, 4XL, 5XL, 7, and we can even use this full one. So I'm going to just place this one to like max width of full, and now if you save that, and this is how it looks like right here. So I'm going to just stick to this LG right here, and now I'm going to save that. So this is it for the max width. And now let's just learn about the viewport width. So first of all, I'm going to write h1 with the margin top of 5, and let me just put a VW and width of 100% in it, so 100% of width. So now let me just create a div with a class of bg of green of 500 shade, and I'm going to also give a margin for the y-axis of 2 pixel, not 2 pixel but 2, and padding for all around will be 5. And now I'm going to hit tab, and now if I save my file, and here you can see it will now give us that kind of container right here. But we can use a WF screen right here, so viewport screen, so it will now give us full screen viewport. So let me just put what do we call it, VW and screen in it. So now if you save our file, and now here you can see it will now just take up all of the entire screen right here. We are getting this scroll bar right here, that's because I make the screen size smaller, so that's why we are getting that. We can also provide arbitrary values to it. So this is for the screen size, like width of the screen. We can also change that to height for the screen, so we can also provide heights. Let me just remove that container from here. So let me just write you know what, I'm going to duplicate this line of code. Instead from the screen, I'm going to change that to full, and let me just write full in here, and this is going to be the width of 100%. So width, let me just write width of 100%. Okay, and let me just write W full, and now if you save that, and it will now give us 100% of width. It will now give us the viewport width of 100%, and this will now give us the width of 100%, just a screen size of the 100% width. You know what, I'm going to comment this line out, it's looking ugly, so I'm going to save that, and yeah, that's looking better. You can play around with that. And by the way, we can also provide arbitrary width and heights if you want to. So now let me just show you that real quick. So I'm going to create a div with a class of bg, and I'm going to give my teal color teal, and 500 would be fine. And I'm going to also give a text of totally white, and also margin for the y-axis I'm going to give him like 2. And now let me just hit tab, and let me just copy that arbitrary width, or arbitrary however you want to pronounce that, and let me just give him like, I don't know, if I want to provide 500 pixel, or you know what, let me just remove this label from. And now if you save our file, and this is how it looks like right now. So if you want to provide arbitrary width to it, so let me just write W and then dash, and then opening bracket and closing bracket. Inside this bracket we can just provide our own arbitrary value, like 500 pixel would be fine. So I'm going to just provide a label of what do we call it, come on, 500 pixel. Okay, and now let's just save them. And this is how we can provide arbitrary width to it. So we can just change that to like 200 pixel, and here you can see we get a 200 pixel. We can even change that to 100 pixel, and here you can see this will now give us 100 pixels. So I'm going to just stick to 500 pixel, and this is over 500 pixel width right here. Okay, so enough about the width. So we learn a lot about the width. So first of all, we learn about how to provide width for all of the areas, then we learn about a percentages width, and then finally we learn about a max width. Okay, so we also learn about a full screen width, and we also learn about 100% width and arbitrary width as well. So now let's just learn about a height. So I'm going to just go to this link real quick, and it will now open this height right here. So it's the same, everything is like totally the same. We can use that same values like h1 and stuff like that. So instead of writing w, in this case we are going to be just writing h right here. So we are going to be writing h and then dash and then specific value for that height right here. Okay, so we have different kinds of heights right here. We can also do percentages right here. So 3/4 will give us 75%, and 1/2 will give us 50%, and 1/3 will give us that much of kind of 333%, and then we have 2/3 will give us 66%. So you can just learn about that if you want to, but we can also do height by just writing h instead of writing w. Let me just write a code for that. First of all, let me just write h1 of margin top of 5 would be fine, and height, I'm gonna just give him a height right here, and let me just write a flex. And I know we didn't cover a flexbox right now, but I do want to use it right now, so you will get to know what a flexbox is just in a second. I guess in this new section, which is, no, it's a little bit far. We have to learn a position, background, border, filter, and stuff like that. Then we can jump into the flexbox. So I promise I'm going to show you a flexbox as well. All right, so we have an item of n, and we can just provide a margin for the top of 20, margin for the bottom of 10. So let me just save that and see, and it will not give us nothing because we don't have any content and nothing inside there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just create a container. The background will be indigo, indigo, like so, and 400 pixel, not, why am I saying pixel all the time, but 400 shade to be precise. And then margin for the left, we will get just like 5, and height I'm going to give him like 24 in this case, dash to be precise, dash 24. And now let me just give him height of 24, and now if you save that, and now here you can see it will now give us the height of 24 right here. Okay, let me just duplicate that and change that to like 32 right here, and I'm gonna also change that to 32. And now if you save that, this one will be a little bit bigger than this one because this one is a height of 24 and this one is a height of 32. And let me just duplicate that and provide a 40 in it, and also the label will be 40. Duplicate that. You know what, I'm gonna do a multi-selection, but first of all we have to, come on, first of all we have to select this 40 and then hit Control or Command D, and it will now select both of these values. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna write 48, and then let's just duplicate that and change that to 64. Duplicate it one more time, and I'm gonna set that to 84. I guess, no, not 84, but just 80 would be fine. And now if you save that, and this is how we can use a height. You just have to write h, just a h, and then specify the value you want to use. You can also provide arbitrary values if you want to, like, I don't know, if you want to provide like, let me just remove that. If you want to provide your own values, so just write opening, not curly brace, but bracket and closing bracket, and then you can just write like 200 pixels. So if you save that, it will now give us 200 pixels. You can also just write like, I don't know, 5 rims if you want to. So save it, it will now give us 5 rims and stuff like that. I'm gonna just stick to 24 in this case, so dash 24, like so. Save it, and yeah, that's looking better. And did I just uncomment that? No, everything is perfectly working. So this is it for the height. So now let's just learn about a min height. I'm gonna click on this link, and let's just go to your documentation. So we have a min height. So if you want to provide a min height, so first of all you're going to be just writing a min, then dash h, and then dash whatever the value you want to provide. So we can provide a min height of full, so it will give us 100% of the min height. And we can also just use min height of screen, so it will now give us 100 VH. And we can use a min height of min, so min content, min max content, and we can also use that what do we call it, fit content. So now let's just use that real quick. What I am going to do, I'm going to write like h1 with the class of margin top of 5, and let me just write min height and full first of all. So I'm going to create a container, give a padding of 5 all around, and what I'll do is that I'm going to just provide arbitrary value, like height will be just I don't know, let me just put a 400 pixel would be fine. So 400 pixel, and I'm going to also give the background color of green, and the shade will be 300 pixel, and I want to also provide a margin for bottom, and that's going to be it. So if you just save that, and here you can see we get our container, but now inside there, this is looking awful. Let's just remove that. What are we even doing? What is that? Let's just remove that. And what I will do is that I'm gonna just, I provide a space right there, so let's just remove that. So we have 300 pixels, so we have padding for all around 5. Then we have what are we even doing? Let me provide a padding of 5 all around, and let me give him a height of arbitrary height, so like 400 pixel, and let me just give him a background of green to it and 300 pixels. So let me just provide a margin bottom for all 5. So if you save that, and this is how it looks like right here. So we have a min height. Now I'm going to go inside there, and let me just create a new container. So I'm going to just give him the class of min height of full, and I'm going to also give him the background of totally teal and 400. So tag full height. So if you save that, and now here you can see it will now take all of the entire space right here, entire height to be precise. So now we are getting these spaces. That's because of that padding of 5. Let me just remove that, and boom, it will now take all of the entire area. So I'm going to just provide a padding of 4 to it. So this is how it looks like. So now let me just get into the max height. So that was it for the min height. Now let me just get into the max height. And let's just remove the other one. If you want to provide a max height, so first of all you're going to be writing a max, and then the dash h, and then the value for that. So we have different kind of values for that. You can learn more about that in your spare time, but we are going to be writing our code in this section. So let me just write the arbitrary height to it first of all. So I'm going to just write h of 150 pixel, and I'm going to also give him a class of like bg of orange of 200, and let me just give him a margin for the bottom of 10. Okay, so oh my goodness, this is looking awful. Let me just write it one more time. So 150 pixel. Oh, it did provide right here. Let's just remove that from here. Okay, so we have the margin of what? So we have you want this one to be 300 pixel and margin, and let me just put a 5 in here. Okay, so now inside there, let me just save that file. So this is how our container looks like. So inside there, I'm going to create a new div with the class of margin 20 all around, and then background will be totally orange and 500 pixel, and I'm going to also give him a height of 48, and let me just give him, what do we call it, the max height of full. So let me just write a max height of full third. So if you save that, and here you can see it will now take the maximum height. So we've provided a margin of 20 to it. So if you just remove that, and here you can see it will now take up the entire area right here. The, what do we call it, the max height of full, totally the max height of full. So that's why I just put a margin of 20 all around, so that you can see the spacing. Anyway, so that was it for the min height and max height. Now the next thing which you have to learn is something called a full screen height and auto width. So we have a full screen height. So now let's just learn about that real quick. So what I'll do, I'll just write h1 with the class of margin bottom of 2, and I'm gonna just put like full screen and height to it. Okay, so let me just create a div with a class of bg pink, and it will just take like 300 of shade. I'm gonna also give a margin bottom of 4, and let me just give a height of screen. So, and let me just put a hello inside there, so it will just take the full area of the screen. So if you save that, and boom, it will now take all of the entire viewport height right here. Okay, now let's just learn about the auto width. So what I'll do is that I'll create a div with a class of bg green with a shade of 400 pixel, and I'm going to also provide a padding of 5 to it, and I'm going to also provide a width of auto to it. So I'll just write auto, and now if you save that, and here you can see it will now take the automatic height, width to it. So if I just make it smaller or bigger, so it will just take up all of the automatic width and height. Okay, so everything is working the way we expect to work, and now we are also totally done with this positioning section, or the sizing to be precise. We are also totally done with this sizing section, so I'm going to just remove that. And now let me just get into the position and display one. So this one will be a little bit cool. So I'm going to just click on this link and it will now brings us to the documentation. So we have different kinds of position values. So we have static, we have fixed, absolute, relative, and sticky. So now let me just write some code, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So absolute child, this one will be a static parent, this is going to be the absolute child of that parent. And you already know what a position property is in CSS, but let me just write some code, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So right click on it and open it with a live server, and it will now open our file in our live server. What I'll do is, first of all, I'll just create a h1 and I want to give them the margin bottom of 3, and I'm going to just put a position in it. So position, now let me just create a div with the class of relative. So as the name suggests, like it will be the relative value, so relative, and I'm going to also give them the width of 1/2, so take out the half of the screen, and then I'm going to also give him a height of 40. Let me just put a 40 in it, and also give him a background of green of 200 pixel. Okay, so let me just zoom out a bit. Okay, something went wrong, something isn't the way I expect him to be. Let me just zoom in a bit. So we give him a class of relative to it, that's okay. Okay, so we just can't use that. Let me just cut that from here. And now let me just try it out, and I'm going to paste it right here. That's that width to be precise. Now inside this div, I'm going to just write a paragraph of relative, so relative. Okay, and now underneath this paragraph, I'm going to create a new div with the class of absolute, so absolute, like so. And I'm going to also give him a bottom value of 0, and I'm going to also give him the right value of 0, just a right of 0. So like these are the values which we used to use inside a CSS. Like we first of all write a position, and then what we did, we just provide absolute or relative to it, and then we also provide a left, and left will be like 200 pixel, or right will be like I don't know, minus 100 pixel and stuff like that. These are all of these properties. Okay, so don't get confused by that. So first of all, we have a position relative right here. This container will be relative position. Then we provide a class of absolute, so this one will be now children, and this one will be the absolute of that relative. Okay, so we also give the bottom will be 0, the bottom value will be 0, the right value will be also 0. I'm going to also give them the bg of teal and 500 pixels, so you guys can see everything, and padding will be 40, not 40 but 4 pixels. So if you save that, and I'm going to also just create a paragraph of absolute, so absolute, like so. Let me just save that, and now here you can see this is going to be, this area will be, let me just zoom in a bit. So this is going to be the relative container, and now inside this relative container we have our absolute container, and we just provide a, what do we call it, we just provide a bottom of 0 and right of 0. So this is now at the right bottom right here. Okay, so we can also change that to something else. So let me just duplicate that like so. Let me just duplicate that one more time, and this is going to be the relative, and the width is totally okay, so everything is okay, except I'm going to change the left value in this case from like bottom to, I'm going to just change that to left, and the right to top. So this container will be now at the top right. So if you just save that, and let's just provide a margin of top to it, something like margin top of 5/7, like so. And now here you can see this is now at the top right here. So we have so this one is now at the bottom, and now this one is the top, because we set the left value to 0 and the top value to also 0. So let's just duplicate that one more time, and let's just play around with that. So we have a margin of everything is working, so we have margin of top to it. So now let's just change this left to the right, and I'm gonna also change that to the top. So let's just save it, and here you can see this one is now at the right here. Okay, and you know what, I'm gonna also duplicate that one more time so that you guys can see every kind of example. So I'm gonna change that to bottom in this case. So if I just change that to bottom, and now let me just remove that top from it. So if you just remove that and save it, and this, it will now just push it to the bottom right here. Okay, so we have position relative, we already saw position absolute, we have like all of these values right here. So this is going to be it for the positioning stuff. You can learn more about that like you can do crazy stuff with position, relative and position stuff like the absolute. Okay, but now let's get into the display properties. So I'm going to just click on this link, and it will now brings us to, oh my god, it will now brings us to our documentation. I just closed the wrong one. We have display of block, inline flex, table, inline table, and we have different kinds of value for that. So I just want to show you the documentation, and now let's just explore that by yourself. So first of all, let me just write some code. I'm gonna write h1 with a class of margin bottom of 3, and let me just put a display in it. So display, okay, spelling is correct. Now let me just create a container, give a name of like bg and indigo. Let me just use the indigo of 100%, and padding will be all around 10, and I'm going to also provide a margin for the bottom of 10, and I'm going to also give an arbitrary width to it, like I don't know, you know what, I'm going to give a width in a second. So width will be, what do we call it, 600 pixel. Okay, so let's just use that, save it, and this is how it looks like right now. Okay, so let me just remove that space from there. And inside this div, what do we have to do? We are going to be writing first of all the span, and I'm going to give a class of inline, so it will just make everything inline, and by default it's already inline, so we can just use like 1, and this is display inline and will wrap normally. Okay, so if you save that, and you already know that this is a display of inline, and it will just wrap normally. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out a bit, and now underneath this span, I'm going to just write another span with the class of inline block. Okay, so we are now converting this span, like the value of inline, to inline block. So let me just write some text in here, so like 2, and this is display, and we are converting that to inline block, and will not extend beyond its parent. Okay, so if you save that, and here you can see everything is working the way we expect it to work. We can also provide a width and height to it. So if I just try to provide a width of like, I don't know, arbitrary width to it, like I don't know, 200 pixels will be fine. And now if you save that, we cannot provide a width to it. So let me just provide a background of orange of 200 pixels, not pixel. Why am I saying pixel? Okay, so this one isn't working. We have BGORANGE. Yeah, we have orange, but we cannot provide a width and height to it. So here you can see nothing is working. If I try to provide height to it, so like 200 pixel, and now if you save that, nothing is happening. But if I cut that from here, and you know what, I'm going to also cut that color as well. So if I copy that, and I'm going to paste it right here, and if you save that, here you can see we can now provide a width and height at the same time right here. That's because we changed this one to inline block, okay, by using just an inline block right here. So that's why we are now able to provide a width and height to it. So I'm going to just remove this width and heights from it. I'm going to just duplicate that, or you know, I'm not going to duplicating that, and I'm going to just write a display of block to it. So I'm going to write span with the class of block, so it will just convert this span, like this inline, to a block level element. So I'm going to just write 3, this is display block, and will move to its own line. Okay, so if you save that, and here you can see it will now just move to another line right here. So, and that's a display of block, and we can also just provide a display of hidden. So I'm going to just write span of hidden, and let me just write this is a display none and will not display at all, and save our file. And here you can see we didn't get anything. That's because we are using display of hidden, and it will just hidden our element right here. Okay, we can also provide display of hidden to this one. So if I just provide hidden, it will also just remove that from there. We can also convert inline to inline block. We can also convert inline to just block. We can also convert block to inline, and we can do all sort of stuff with that. So I want you to just spend a little bit of time with that, and then you'll get to know how all of that's work. But we are totally done with this display section as well. Display section and position section. We are now totally done with this section. So now let's just learn about background and shadows. So I'm going to just open this file. First of all, we are going to be learning about background images, then we are going to be learning about shadows, and finally we are going to be learning about gradients. So we are going to be just using one image which you will have access to, or if you want to use your own images, so feel free to do that. So I'm going to just click on this link, And if you want to provide a background, so first of all we have a BG of none, then we have background gradients, and we have different kinds of values for these background gradients. So if you want to use that, first of all you're going to be providing a BG, then gradient, then 2, and then for the right and starting color and then the ending color, like from the sign 500 to the blue 500. So now let me just show you all of that in action, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. I'm going to close that one, and I'm going to right click on it and open it with the live server so we can just work with that. So I'm going to just create a container, and I'm going to give him a class of screen, and I'm going to also give him the width of full, and I'm going to also give him a background of totally blue and 500 of shades. If I just save my file, and this is how it looks like right now. Okay, so inside there, you know, I'm gonna just also provide a style, like an inline styling, and I'm gonna just use like a background image, and let's just provide our image right here. So I'm gonna just provide a URL inside the single quotes. I've already have an image right here. If you're using your own images, so feel free to use that. If you want to use my image, and so here you go, we have our image right here. So now if I save that, and here you can see we have our background image. So now let's just do our magic, like background repeat and background cover and all of that kind of good stuff. So I'm going to just write a BG of cover, which means like background, what do we call it, background size property. So this is going to be the background size property, and we set the value to BG cover, and then we have a background repetition or like background repeat property, and we will just set that to no repeat, so no repeat. Okay, and then we have a background position property, and we will set that to centered. So if you save that, and here you can see this image is now totally at the center. So I'm going to just make that a bit bigger so you guys can see everything a bit better. Alright, so this is how we can provide image for the background, and this is how we can use different kind of values for that, like BG cover, BG no repeat, BG center, and all of these properties right here. So now let's just learn about the shadows real quick. So I'm going to just click on this link right here, and it will now open these different kind of shadows. So we have drop shadow, small, then we have a drop shadow, then we have a drop shadow medium, large, extra large, 2XL, and none. Okay, and this is how all of them will look like. So now let me just write a code, and then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So first of all, I'm going to create a div with a class of flex. I know we didn't use a flexbox, but we will use that just in a second. But you already know what a flexbox is and how to use that if you are coming from my course. So let me just write my HTML and CSS course to be precise. And now let me just write a width, and then let me just give him some arbitrary width. You know what, I'm going to just write a div with a class of width of, what do we call it, 400 pixel. Okay, and I'm going to also give margin for the top of 10 pixel, and margin for the left will be 4. Okay, let me just write a 4, and I'm going to just write padding of 3 all around, and let me just give my label of like shadow medium, like so. Now if you save that, and I guess we cannot see that, let me just comment this line out. First of all, let me just comment it out, save it, and now here you can see this is how it looks like. We don't have nothing inside that. We didn't provide any shadow, we didn't provide any colors and stuff. Now if you want to provide a shadow to it, so for that we have a class of shadow, so shadow of medium. So if you save our file, and now here you can see this slightly medium shadow right here, and this is how we can provide shadow to it. Okay, so what else do we have? So I'm going to just duplicate this line of code, and now let's just change that to shadow large, and I'm going to also change this one to LG for large. Okay, and I guess the other stuff is okay-ish, but I'm going to just change this one, or you know what, this one to 7 in this case. So now if you save that, and here you can see we have just a little bit more shadow because we are using a large shadow in this case. So now let's just duplicate that and change this shadow to, what do we call it, XL, like extra large shadow, and I'm going to also change that to extra large shadow. Okay, so we have a little bit more shadow right here, and I'm going to duplicate the final time, and now let's just use, what do we call it, 2XL. So I'm going to use a 2XL, and let me just remove that, and 2XL will be fine. And I'm going to also change this one to just XL, and now if you save that, and this is how it looks like right here. So we have a medium shadow, then we have large shadow, then we have an extra large shadow, and then we have double extra large shadow. Okay, so this is how we can provide shadows to it. But now let's learn about something called the inner shadow. So if you want to provide an inner shadow inside that element, so for that we can use just an inner shadow. Like shadow inner class. So let me just write div with a class of, you know what, I'm going to just create a div. Div with the class of, and let me just copy this class until, you know, I'm going to also copy that class and I'm going to paste it right here. And let me just change this 2xl to just an inner. So now if we save that, and we don't have any content inside this, so inner shadow. So if you save that, and now here you can see we have that shadow inside this element right here. We don't have that shadow outside from that element. Here you can see. Anyway, so this is for the inner shadow. And now let's just learn about something called a shadow or colors for shadows. So colors / shadow would be fine. And I'm going to just create that same div. Let me just copy that. I'm going to paste it right here, and margin for top, everything is okay. So I'm going to change this margin, or not margin, but shadow to LG. And I'm going to also provide a shadow, in this case, of what do we call it, teal. And let me just give him a color of 300 would be fine. So now if you save that, and now we are getting that kind of a teal color. We can change that to red if you want to. It will give us that red color. We can also provide a slash and then the opacities, and it will now give us that much opacity. Change this one to teal one more time and save it. And here you can see this is how we can use these opacities as well. So 20 pixel is just a little bit slider. Then we have a 10 pixel, and yeah, you can see that. We can also go like bump it up to like 70, and this is how it will look like. So that's it for the shadows. So now let's just learn about gradients. So I'm going to start working on the gradients right here, but I'm going to click on this link, which will open this documentation for us. So we have different kind of gradients right here. You don't have to worry about that. So this is the documentation of a gradient. So if you want to provide gradient, first of all, you're going to be writing a BG, then gradient, and then where do you want to start or end your gradient to. And then we have a from, like from which color do you want your gradient to start, and from which color do you want your gradient to end. So this is going to be the example, like we have BG gradient and start for the right, and we have from cyan color, and the opacity will be 500 pixel to blue, and the opacity will be 500 pixels. So it will now give us that result right here. Okay, we can also use 3 colors if you want to. Now let me just write some code, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. I'm going to create a container, give my classes of height of 40, and I'm going to also use a BG gradient, gradient, like so, and to the right. And I'm going to use from pink color, and the shade will be 100, to the red color, and shade will be 500. Okay, and I'm going to also just provide a margin for the top of 10, and text alignment will be now set to totally center, and I'm going to use a padding for all around 40 pixel. Okay, so now inside there I'm going to just use a little bit of lorem ipsum, and now if you save that, and here you can see this how it looks like right here. First of all, we provide a background of gradient to it, and our gradient starting point will be the pink color, and the shade will be 100 pixel, not pixel, but shade will be 100. And then we have to a red color, and the shade will be 500. So this is how it looks like. And you can also change the colors to like something else, like maybe a teal, and I don't know, green would be fine. And now if green, and now if you save our file, and this is how it looks like. Okay, so you can just play around with that if you want to. And now let me just give you another example, and that's going to be it. Let me just create a div with the class of h40, and then background will be gradient, gradient, and to the right, and from starting point will be cyan and dash 500 pixel via blue color of 500 pixel, not, why am I saying pixel all the time, but 500 to teal, and then 500. And this is going to be 3 color gradient, and I'm going to use a margin for the top. Margin top will be just set to like 10, and text alignment will be now set to center. And I'm going to also use padding of 40, and I'm going to just use a lorem ipsum inside that as well. So now if you save that, and here you can see we are now using 3 colors. So we have a teal color, then we have a blue color, and then we have that teal color one more time, or cyan to be precise. So we have cyan color, we have blue color, and we have a teal color. We can also change that to like I don't know, red, and Do we have that? You know what? I'm going to change this to an arbitrary color of crimson. Crimson, and I am going to change this color to, what do we call it? I'm going to change this color to red. Oh, you know what? We don't have to use this arbitrary. We have red in Tailwind CSS, so if you save that, and it's looking awful. You know what? I'm going to change the opacity, so 100 pixel for the first side. And what else can we do? So 200 pixel would be fine, or 300 pixel for the medium. And then we have, or 500 pixel, or not 500 but 400 pixel will be for the right ones. So this is how we can work with the background, the shadows, and the gradients in Tailwind CSS. Okay, so we are totally done with the backgrounds and shadows. So now let's just learn about borders real quick. So I'm going to just right click on it and open it with a live server, so we can see everything at one place. I'm going to set that right here, like so. Hide this head area, click on this link, and it will now open this documentation for us. So if you want to provide a border, so first of all, you're going to be just writing the border keyword and then specify like how much border you want. So we have border, and 2, it will now give us a border width of 200 pixel, 400 pixel, 800 pixel. Why am I saying 800 pixel? It will give us a border of 2 pixel, 4 pixel, 8 pixel, and 1 pixel, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we have different kind of values for that. We have border for the x-axis, and we have the border for the y-axis. We have border for the top. We have border for the bottom, for the left, for the right, and all of that kind of good stuff. So now let me just write some code, then you'll see how all of that works. So first of all, I'm going to just create a div with a class of border of 2, and I'm going to also give him a color to this border. So we are going to be using green color and 100% of shade to it, and the margin top will be or margin all around will be just 10 pixel. Okay, so if we save that and we check it out, and this is how it looks like, that's because we don't have no content, nothing inside there. So we can just use like I'm going to just create a div and border all around. Okay, so if you want to provide a border for all around, like so for that we can just use, like, let me just write a class of width of 96 in this case, and I'm going to just use margin 3 for all around and padding 5 for all around, and I'm going to just use a border. So if you save that, it will now give us just 1 pixel border right here. Here you can see that kind of a grayish border. We can also change the color of that if you want to, but we are not going to be doing that just for now. So duplicate this line of code and change this one to border and width. We can also change the width of our border. So first of all, we have to provide our border, and then we can just specify the width of our border, like maybe border 2. And now if we save that, and here you can see now we provide 2 pixel border to it. So we can also just use what do we call it? Let me just go up above. We can also just use add and 4 and stuff like that. If I just use like 4, and if we save our file, and here you can see the difference between both of them. Anyways, so now let's just duplicate this one and change this one to colored borders or borders. So we can also provide color to our borders. So let's just remove that and change that to border 4, and I'm going to just provide a border, and let's just give him a color of, I'm going to give him a color of red of 500 shades. So if you save our file, and here you can see this how our red color will look like. Okay, so that's for the border colors, and we can also do, let's just duplicate that, and let's just zoom out a bit, zoom out, not in, and change the heading, and now let's just change that to border applied to x-axis, like so. Okay, so we can just provide a border for the x-axis. So what do we have to do in this case? So we can just use the border x and then dash whatever the border size is. So it will just give us border for the x-axis. So if you save our file, and now here you can see it will now give us for border for the left and for the right. We can also use it for y-axis if you want to. So let's just duplicate that, and instead of writing x, we can also just write y, not u but y, and change that to the y. And now if you save that, so it will now just provide border for top and for the bottom, like for y-axis, like so. And we can also just provide border for the right, for the left, and for the right, what do we call it, for the bottom and stuff like that. So what I'll do, I'll just copy and paste that one more time, and let's just change that to something else. So I'm going to just remove this border from the y-axis. I'm going to change that to the right, so border right, and let's just change that to border right. And now if you save them, and it will now just gives us border for the right. I'm going to also change the color to something else like teal maybe, and it will now give us that border for the right. And let's just duplicate that one more time. We can also change that to the bottom if you want to. We can also change that to the left, so I'm going to just write L for the left, and now if you save that, it will now give us border for the left. We can also change that to, let's just replace that with left, left, like so. We can also just use it for top if you want to. So for that we can just use D and save our file, and it will now give us border just for the top. Let's just duplicate that one more time, and we can also use it for right, left, top, and bottom. So we would just write bottom, like B for the bottom, and now if you save that, it will now give us that border for the bottom. Okay, so enough about a border. So now let's just learn about a border radius. So how can we apply a radius to our border? So this is the documentation. We have a rounded none, we have rounded small, rounded medium, large, let's just expand that, large, extra large, 2XL, 3XL, rounded full, rounded for a top to none, rounded top, small, top, medium, extra large, and all of that kind of a lot of border radius properties. So now let's just explore that real quick. So I'm going to write a code. So what do we have to do? First of all, I'm going to just write a div with a class of border of 2, and I'm going to also give him a border of green to it. So border green will be 100, and also margin for the top will be, not for the top but all around, will be just 10. So if you save our file, and this is how it looks like, but you cannot see that. Instead of green, I can you know what, green is fine for now. Alright, so now let's just write div and border rounded. And now if you save that, so we have that text of border rounded right here. And now let's just provide our classes to it. So I'm going to write a class of width will be 96, like so. And I'm going to also write margin 3 and margin, not margin, but padding 5 all around. And background will be teal, 200 will be shed. And now we have to use teal of 200, and we have to use our rounded keyword. So I'm going to just write rounded, and now if you save that, and it will now give us kind of a rounded border right here. So if I just remove this rounded from there, and here you can see that roundness is gone, we can just provide it one more time like rounded, and now if you save that, here you can see that border radius all around. Alright, so that's for the rounded. We can also just use like border, let's just duplicate that. So we have just a simple rounded, and we can also just provide a rounded LG for border rounded. You know what, I'll just write border or rounded LG would be fine. So if you save that, and here you can see this one will be now a little bit more rounded than this one. So let's just duplicate that one more time. And we can also use our Excel properties and all of that kind of a good stuff which you already learned. So let's just provide XL instead of LG. So I'm going to just write XL, and let's just put an XL in it. So if you save our file, and here you can see this one will be a little bit more rounded than this one. Okay, so what I'll do is that I'll duplicate that 2 times, or 1 time would be fine, and I'm going to change that to 3XL. So 3XL, I'm gonna change this one to 3XL. So if you save that, and here you can see it's kind of like what do we call it, kind of like a circle. So not perfect circle, but it's just around it a lot. So let's just duplicate this one more time, and let's just provide 3XL or rounded full would be fine. So this is going to be the last property which I'm going to be showing. You can explore all of them in your spare time. So rounded or full, and now if you save that, and roundness will be totally full. So this is how you can work with a border and border radius. Now let's just learn how we can provide a border for a specific site. So like border radius for a specific site. So a lot of talking. So now let me just write a div with a class of W96 for a width 96. Come on, 96. And now let me just give them a margin of 3 and the padding of 5. And the background color will be totally teal and 200 pixel. And I'm going to also give them a rounded for top and XL. So the top roundness will be XL and the rest of them will be nothing. So border top rounded. So if you save that, so now here you can see we just get border roundness just for a top, not for a bottom. So I'm gonna cut that from here and I'm gonna paste it right here. And now here you can see that a little bit better. And let's just duplicate that one more time and change that to the bottom. So it will now give us border roundness for a bottom, and you can play around with these properties in your spare time. But in my case, I just wanted to show you what a border is, how you can provide different kind of borders with different kind of colors and the roundness and these kind of stuff. Anyway, so we are totally done with the border section as well. So this section will be a little bit long because we are going to be using a lots of images in this section. So I'll just right click on it and open it with live server. Right, so now let's just start working on this section. But before we do, I'm going to just zoom out a bit so that you guys can see everything a bit better, because we are going to be using a lot of images. So first of all, let me just create a div with the class of border, and I'm going to also use margin all around 10, and we are going to be using a flex, and padding will be 10. Okay, so inside there I'm going to be just rendering image, which is that image which we have right here. So I'm going to copy this image link right here and I'm going to paste it right here. And also let's just remove this alt tag from there, and I'm going to replace it with class, and I'm going to give him a class of like width will be just I don't know, 250 pixel will be fine. And I'm going to also give him the height of 250 pixel as well. So now if we save our file and we have our first image, I'm going to make that a bit bigger so you guys can see everything a bit better. And I'm going to just duplicate that 3 times, so 1, 2 and 3. So if you save there, and yeah, that's looking better. So now let's just learn about that contrast. So I'm going to click on this link and it will brings us to this documentation. So if you want to provide a contrast to it, so we have different kind of values for that. We have contrast 0, we have 50, 75, 100, 125, 150 and 200. So this is how it will look like. So we have 50% of contrast, we have 100% of contrast, 125 and 200 will look like this. So now let's just explore that, and let's just give him a class of contrast 0 first of all. So I'm going to just write contrast of 50 first of all. So if you save that, and this is kind of a grayish right now, and now I'm going to copy that and let's just place it right here, but I'm going to just change the value to 100. So if you save that, and this is looking kind of a normal right here, and let's just place it here and change the value to like I don't know, 150. And now if you save that, and this one is looking a little bit more contrasted, like this one is looking a bit black than this one and this one. And also you can just see the difference between that. I guess you can see the difference between in value, but if you write your own code, and then you will see the difference. So let me just write a contrast of 200 pixel, or not 200 pixel, but just 200. So if you save that, and now this one is a little bit more black than this one. So this one will have a little bit slider contrast, this one will have a little bit more slider than this one, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. I'm going to close that one, and this is it for the contrast. So now let's just learn about brightness. I'm going to click on this link, and we have different kind of values for different kinds of brightness. So if you want to increase or decrease the brightness, so we have like, first of all, we are going to be using a brightness class, and then different kind of values for that, like 50, 75, 90, 95, 100, 105, 110, 125, 150 and 200. Okay, so this is how all of them will look like. So we have a little bit of brightness, then we have a little bit more brightness, just 125% of brightness and 200% of brightness. Okay, so now let me just write some coding for that. But before I do, you know what, I'm going to copy this one, I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to place it right here. Okay, so now let's just change the image to something else. Let's just copy this image, and let me just paste it right here and here as well. Come on, let me just select this one area and hit Ctrl D and replace it, save it, and this is how it looks like. So we already provided contrast here, so let's just remove this contrast from this div. So I'm going to remove that, and also contrast from this one as well, and select both of them and remove that, save it, And yeah, all of them are looking normal. So if you want to provide a different kind of brightness to it, so first of all, I'm going to just start from the brightness 50%. So I'm going to write brightness BRIGHTNESS and 50. And now if you save that, and this one is now a little bit darker than the rest of them. So this is a brightness 50, copy there and paste it right here and change the value to be like 100. And now if you save that, and this one is looking kind of a normal one, duplicate that and place the value to like 150, save it, and this one is a little bit lighter, or yeah, this one is a bit lighter than the rest of them. And now let's just use 200 brightness, so 200. So if you save that, and here you can see this is how you can increase or decrease the contrast and the brightness of these images. Okay, so you know what, I'm going to copy these images container one more time, and I'm going to just place it right here inside this grayscale. So we have different kind of values for grayscales as well. So I'm going to go to this grayscale right here and we can learn more about that. So we have grayscale of 0 and we have grayscale of 100 pixel. Okay, so now let's just learn about a grayscale. I'm going to just select all of that and remove the brightness value from them. So say bye-bye to them, save our file, and we have that same image. So we gotta grab a new image. So let's just delete these images, and I'm going to just use this image in this case and remove the other images from here. My bad. And now let's just use this one and hit Ctrl D, Ctrl D, Ctrl D one more time and replace it with this image. So if you save that, and boom. Okay, so we have this image, kind of a nature image. So now let's just use our classes in there. So I'm going to just leave this one as it is, and now here I'm going to just use a grayscale. So gray and then scale. So if you save our file, so this one is now become a black and white one, and we can also use different kind of grayscale. So we have invert. So if we just write invert and save our file, and it will now just change the color to it will just invert the color. And we have one more property or value to be precise, which is sepia or sepia. And yeah, this is kind of a yellowish one right here. Okay, so this is how you can play around with these grayscale values. So I'm going to just duplicate this container one more time, and I'm going to paste it right here in the hue and the rotation section one more time. And now what I'll do is that I'll select this image, hit Ctrl D, Ctrl D, Ctrl D. I want you to just practice that by yourself. That's why I'm writing all of these codings. So I'm going to remove this grayscale, I'm going to remove this invert, and I'm going to remove this sepia or sopia, whatever you want to call it. So we don't have any images, but we do have our borders. Alright, so what do we have to do? Let's get into this images section. So we already used this one. I guess now I'm going to be using this one. So I'm going to copy that and remove the rest of these images from this section, and I'm going to also remove these images, and yeah, I am going to also remove these images as well. So I guess we used this image, did we? You know, I'm going to use this image first of all. Let me just place it right here. Yeah, that's looking a bit different than this one, and click in here, here, and paste it. And boom. Alright, so that's that. Now inside these classes, what do we have to do for the hue and the rotation or the rotate? So I'm going to just click on the docs, and we have different kind of values for our hue rotate. So we have hue 0, 15, 30 pixel, not pixel, why am I saying pixel all the time? We have hue rotate 60, 90, and 180. Okay, and this is how the color of the hue will look like. Okay, so now let's just write it. So I'm going to leave that first one as it is. Now I'm going to just start working on the second one, and what I'll do, I'll just write a hue and rotate of 15. So if I just save my file, and you cannot see that much of difference, but it will just provide a little bit of difference. So let me just provide, so this one is just 15. Now let's just change this one to 90, so then you will see the difference. So if you just save that, okay, we are doing it wrong. Yeah, here you can see the difference between this is now 90, and we can also provide 180. So let me just provide 180. So 180, and now if you save that, and this is how this one look like. So we have 15, we learn about 90, 180, and we can also provide 60 for this one. You know, I'm gonna just provide 60 for this one. Why am I just zooming in? Just write 60, save it, and this is going to be the 60. This one will be the normal one, or 50 to be precise, and this is going to be 180, and this is going to be, I mean, like, this one is going to be 90, and this is going to be 180. So we can just play around with that, but I'm going to copy that real quick because I don't want to waste your time. And now let me just show you that saturation and that blur, and then we are going to be good to go. So let's just get into it. So we have this one, copy this image address, select that real quick. Let me just select that, hit Control D, Control D, Control D, place it right there, and let's just select over one hue and just Control D or Command D, Command D, Command D, and remove this rotation and hue from there. And now if you save that, and we have this PC image or laptop image, whatever you want to call it. Let me just start from the saturation of 50%. So I'm going to just write SATURAT of 50. So if you just write save, and here you can see that saturation. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it right here. And now let's just change the saturation to be 100. And now if you save that, this one is just a little bit slighter saturated, and we have another value for this saturation, which will be 150. And now if you save that, this one is just a little bit more saturated, or saturated, how you want to pronounce that word. And now let's just place it to, like, I don't know, 200. And now if you save that, and this one is just a little bit more saturated. So this is how you can work with the saturation. Now let's just learn about a blurriness, and this is going to be it for the filters. So I'm going to just place this one right here, and I'm going to get this final image. So let me just get this final image and hit Control D, 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 and yeah, and I'm going to paste this one. Let's just select word saturation and remove it from here, save it. Okay, so we are reusing that image. We messed it up something, so I guess we didn't use this image. Let's just provide it somewhere at the first, like so. Save it. Both of these images are the same, or what? I'm gonna reuse this image. You know what? I'm gonna reuse this image. Who cares? Let's just reuse. So save it. Yeah, we have that image, and let's just reuse it again and again. Hit Control D, Control D, and paste it, and boom. Alright, so now let's just learn about blurriness, because we want to just provide a little bit of blurriness to it. So if you want to provide a little bit of blurriness, so for that we have like blurriness of LG and that kind of stuff. You know what, let's just go to the documentation of the blurriness, and let's just see. So we have blur none, blur small, blur medium, large, extra large, 2 extra large, and 3 extra large. So this is how it will look like. Not blurred, a little bit blurred, a little bit more blurred, and totally blurred. So let's just use like I don't know, blur of what, SM. So if I just save that and check it out, so this is going to be a saturation in here. So now here you can see this one is a little bit blur, and we can just provide different kind of values to it. So like LG, I'm gonna just provide the blur of LG, copy that from there, paste it right here. Let's just write LG, and now this one is a little bit more blur. We can also use 2XL if you want to, so we can use blur and then 2XL, and this is going to be a little bit more blur. And finally we can just make it totally blur by just using blur of 3XL. And now if you save that, and this one is now totally blurred. So this is it about filters. You can learn more about that in your spare time, but I am done with filters, you know. So filters are totally done. So now let's just learn about breakpoints. So if you just click on this link, so it will now brings us to this documentation, and you can learn about these media queries. But we have SM for smaller media queries like 640 pixel. We have MD for the medium one. Let me just zoom in a bit. We have MD for the medium one, which is like 768 pixel. We have LG for large one, which will be 1024. Then we have extra large for 1218 pixel, and then we have 2XL for 1536. And you can provide your own, like a what do we call it, arbitrary values if you want to. But now let's just learn about that. And I'm going to remove this one and right click on it and open it with live server, so that everything we see on a bigger screen. If we just write head, where is our body starting point? Just write a body, remove that one, and now it's looking better. You know what, I'm gonna style this body, so I'm gonna just write a class of bg indigo indigo of 400 pixel or 400. So now if you save that, I am going to open my developer tools and I'm going to just click on this responsive mode. So let's just make it a bit bigger, or you know what, this is going to be fine for now. And so now let's just work with this small media query. So I'm going to just copy that and I'm going to just place it right here. So hit enter, it will make our screen size just like 640 pixel wider. So this is going to be the width. Yeah, that's fine. So now let's just use a media query for that. If you just write sm and bg will be now pink, and you want to change that to like pink of 800 pixel, oh, pink of 800. So now if you save that, and here you can see the color is now changed to pink of 800 shades. So if you just make it smaller, here you can see that indigo color will be applied. So if you make it a bit bigger like so, here you can see that pink color will be applied. So we can also write different kind of media queries for a medium size. So if your screen size is medium, if you just write md and bg blue, and we want to provide 800. So if you just save that, nothing will happen. But if we hit this media query, so let me just write 768, let me just place it right here, hit enter, and it will now give us that blue color right here. That's because of this md clause right here. So let me just write it for a large one. So if our screen size is larger, so for that we can just use a bg of green, and now let's just use the 800% of shade. So if you save that, so what is the larger? So I'm going to just copy this 1024 and I'm going to paste it right here and hit enter, and it will now give us green color. Okay, so now let's just write a media query for an extra large screen. So the background will be yellow of 800 pixels. So let me just save that. It will not give us nothing, but if you just copy this 1280 and let me just place that right here, hit enter, it will now give us kind of a orangish color, yellowy kind of a orangish color. And now let's just finally use a 2xl, and the background will be red and 800 shade. So if you save that, and now let me just grab this value from there, and I'm going to paste it right here, and if you hit enter, it will now give us that kind of a red color. So if you just make it a bit smaller, we get our yellow color. If you make it more smaller, so we get a green color. If you make it a little bit more smaller, so we get our blue color. This is going to be the medium screen. So if you just make it a bit more smaller, so we would get our pink color, and the default color will be that indigo. Okay, so first of all, we have our indigo color for the smaller screen size, or default color will be indigo. So if you just make it a little bit bigger and we hit like a smaller screen size, it will now change the color to totally pink. And if you just make it a bit more bigger than that, so we will get a blue color. If you make it a little bit more than that, so we will get a green color. Okay, let's just make it bigger, so we would get a green color. And if you grow it a little bit more than that, so we would get kind of a yellow color. And if you make it like double extra large, and we would get the color of red. Okay, so this is how we can provide different kind of screen sizes. So this is how we can provide responsive breakpoints inside a Tailwind CSS. So now let's just learn about a Flexbox. So I'm going to just get into the Flexbox real quick, and we are going to be learning about display, flex direction, justify content, and order, property, grow and shrinks as well. So now let me just collapse this head area, right click on it and open it with a live server like so. So what I will do, I will just make this Visual Studio Coder bigger so we can see everything a bit better. So if you want to learn more about the display of flex and stuff like that, you can just click on this link and it will brings us to this Flexbox section right here. Okay, so now you don't have to worry about all of them for now. I'm going to show it anyways. So let me just write, first of all, let me just create a container, give me a class of border. Let's just write border in here, and I'm going to also give a class of margin 10. Okay, so now inside there I'm going to be using ul and li, and we want them to be like, I don't know, 5 would be fine, so I'm going to just use -5. Okay, so now we are getting all of that. Now let's just change the styling or the background color of this each list item. So I'm going to just provide a background color bg teal of 100 pixel or 100 shade, and margin for all around will be 5, and padding for all around will be also 5. So now if you save that, and this is how it looks like right here. So we have our container, we provide a border in it, and then we have our each item inside there. And this is how it looks like by default. But if we provide a display of flex on the containers, if I just use a class of flex in here, and now if we save that, and boom, it will now just make everything to the row and all of that kind of a Flexbox stuff, which I'm not going to be wasting your time here. Again, if you want to learn more about that, you can check out my HTML and CSS course. So this is going to be the Flexbox, like display flex. I'm going to copy that, and now let's just learn about how we can change the direction of our Flexbox. So for that, we can just use like either flex call. So by default the flex direction will be set to row, but I'm going to remove that from here. And now if you save that, so it's now set to row. Once we write display of flex on it, we can also change that to flex call for column. So if you save that, it will now just make it column right here. Okay, and we can also do a justify content and all of that kind of stuff. So I don't want to waste your time on that, but I just wanted to show you like you can do a Flexbox inside a Tailwind CSS. So we have display of flex, and we can also just use our justify content. So I'm going to just remove that, save our file, and this is how it looks like. So we can just also do or justify content, but first of all, let me just comment this line out because it's taking all of the entire viewport. So let me just write justify content. I'm going to write justify start, and now if I do that, save it, nothing will happen because it's the default property or the default value to be precise. And we can also just do like justify end. So if you save that, it will push it to the end. If we just write justify center, it will just make it to the center. And you can also work with a justify between, like a space between. And now if you save that, it will now give us a spacing in the between. And if you just write space around, and if you save that, it will also give us spacing around. Okay, so you can also just use these justify properties as well. So now let's just learn about the order properties. So let me just copy all of that, and I'm gonna paste it right here. So let me just paste it right here. You already know, like by default, if you use display flex, so we will get like order property of 0 for all of them, but we can change that if you want to. So I'm gonna just give this one like order of 5. So if you save that, and it will now push that to the end right here. But we can also provide order property of like something else, like order of 4, and save it. So it will now push the other one to the end. So we have 1. This one will have this highest specificity because we provide the order of 5, and this one will have the order of 4. So that's why it will now push it to the end right here. We can also push these to the end as well. So let's just write like, I don't know, if you just write order of 6 maybe, or 7. So if you save that, it will now push that one to the end right here. So once again, if you guys don't know what all of that means, so you can check out my HTML and CSS course. So I'm going to just set that to 3, and let's just copy that and change this one to 2, and let's just paste it right here, and 1. So if you save that, and we reverse our content right here. Okay, so that was it about for order property. I'm going to copy that, and now let's just learn about a flex shrink and these properties like flex grow and flex shrink property. Okay, so for that, I'm going to just provide a width of 100, and let's just style these a little bit more. So I'm going to delete all of these classes from here. So what do we have to do? First of all, I'm going to give them the padding of 5, and I'm going to also give them the margin of 3, and let's just use the width of 64, and I'm going to change the background to be teal and 100. And now let's just use our flex will be none for this one, and this one will have a flex initial, so flex initial like so. And then we have a flex auto. Let me just write flex auto in there, and then we have a flex of 1. Okay, so flex of 1, and yeah, that would be fine. We can just duplicate that to like 4, 5, 6, 7. So you have 6th one, we have a 7th one. Okay, so we are not going to be writing any styling for that. So if you save that, and here you can see we have the flex grow property and flex shrink property, and I guess something is wrong. Tile. Let's just see. Teal, like so. So this is going to be the flex none, and then we have an initial. So flex none property will just prevent items from not growing and shrinking, and flex initial will allow item to shrink but not to grow, and flex auto will allow item to grow and shrink at the same time, and flex 1 will allow item to grow and shrink as needed. Okay, so ignore the initial spaces and sizes and stuff like that. Okay, let me just say that one more time. So flex none will prevent item from not growing and shrinking, and flex grow flex initial will allow item to shrink but not grow, and flex auto will allow items to grow and shrink, and flex 1 will allow item to grow and shrink as needed. Okay, so if you just save that, and this is how it looks like right here. And now we are totally done with our Flexbox section. Okay, you can learn more about that. There are like crazy stuff you can do in Tailwind CSS, but I just kind of wanted to give you the quick test of that. And now let's get into the grid, and I'm going to open that, right click on it and open it with a live server. And now we are good to go. So if you want to learn about a grid, so we have that link right here, but I don't want to waste your time. So now let me just create a container, give me a width of like 100%, and I'm going to just create a div, and inside that I'm going to give him like padding of 10, background will be green, and 200% of shade. Okay, so I'm going to just put like a 1 inside there, or you know what, let's just use our image. So $2 sign, and I want them to print like 9 times, so 9, and hit tab, and now if you save that, and this is how it looks like, but we don't have any gaps and stuff like that, but we do have our content right here. So now if you want to use a grid, so first of all we are going to be just using grid. So if you just write grid, and now if you save that, and nothing happened, but we can also just provide our columns to it. So suppose if you want like 3 columns, so we are going to be just writing like grid calls and 3, and now if you save that, it will now give us 3 columns. So let's just right click on it and open our inspect area, and let's just see. Okay, let me just make that a bit smaller. Come on, if I can get that. If I click on this grid, and now here you can see we have 1, 2, and 3 columns right here. Okay, so if you want like rows of 4, so you can just write like grid rows and 4. Okay, so if you save that, and it will now give us 4 rows. If you click on that, so we have row 1, row 2, row 3, and row 4 right here. If you want to provide gapping inside these elements, so for that we can just use gap of like whatever the gap is, so we can just use like 4 and 7, and it will now give us gapping right here. So this was just a little bit of grid columns and grid rows, how you can create all of that. Now let's just learn about the spanning. So let me just create a div with a class of width of 100, and I'm going to also use a grid, and I'm going to also give him a columns of 3, and I'm going to also give him a gap of 4. Okay, so inside there I'm going to create our div. So I'm going to just write like I don't know, div, or you know, I'm going to copy that same div from up above, and I'm going to paste it right here, change this one to 1, and we want them a few of them like 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's just duplicate that one more time, and this one is going to be for 6 one. Okay, so if we save our file, and now here you can see we have all of these items, and we are getting 3 columns, and gap will be just 4 right here. Okay, so if you want to span our elements, so how can we go about doing that? So for that we can just go to our elements. So if I want to span this one to 2, so I can just write column and then span it to 2. Okay, and once again, if you guys don't know about like what a grid is, what a spanning is, so you can just check out my HTML CSS course, and I have covered all of these properties in a really great depth. So now we are getting like column span 2. So if you save that, it will now just span up this column right here. So we have 1 and we have 2, so it will just span up these 2 columns right here. We can also span the rows if you want to. So for that we can just use like row and then span, and let's suppose if you want to row like 2, so let's just write that, and now if you save that, and it will also span up the rows as well. Okay, so we can row, so let's just provide a little bit of padding to it, so like 10. Okay, so it's looking better. We can also just span it to like I don't know, 1 would be fine. So it's kind of a default 1, so we can just span to 1. We can also just span to 3, so let's just use 3, and we can just span around with that. Let's just duplicate this item, and we can get different kinds of results right here. Okay, so I guess that will be it for the grid. Or you know what, let me just show you the spanning one more time, but let me just go outside from there. Let me just give you a little bit of practice on the spanning. So now let me just create a div with a class of p10. Background will be teal and the shadow of 200, and I'm going to just use call of span 3. So we want them to be spanned with 3 elements. So you want to just write 0 and 7. So let me just write, so that was a 0, 6, and now let me just write 0, 7. You know what, this is going to be, you know, I'm going to remove that from there. I'm going to change this one to 2. I'm going to also change this one to 2. So we have 6, then we have a 7, and now let's just remove this spanning from this one because we don't want this one to span, and let's just duplicate that right here, and let's just change the value to be 2. And now if you save that, and yeah, okay, so we messed it up something. We got outside from the table, so let's just cut that from here, and I am going to paste it right here. So now if you save that, and here you can see it will now span through all of the entire area, and this one will now span from, what do we call it, span 2 right here. Okay, so this one will span 3 and this one will span 2. So this is how you can play around with the grid, and you can do crazy stuff with the grid. So the final topic which we are going to be learning is something called transformation, transition, and animation. So first of all, we are going to be creating a button with no transition to it. Then we will provide just a little bit of transition. Then we are going to be learning about transformation, and finally we are going to be covering animation. Okay, so we have no transition first of all. So let me just create a button without any transition and anything. So I'm going to just write a button, and I'm going to provide a padding of 5, and text will be totally white. I'm going to change the background to be totally blue, and once we hover over it, so we can also use a hover. So once we hover over it, so we want to change the background to be blue, and we want to just write like 700 pixels. So not pixel, click me, and now if you save that, right click on it and open it with the live server. So once I hover my mouse over to it, and we don't have any transition and nothing inside there. But if you want to provide a transition to it, so now let me just create a button from scratch. So I'm going to just use like button, and it will just say with transition like so. So I'm going to just write a class of margin for the left will be 5, padding will be 5 for all around. I'm going to just provide a background of blue of 500, and now if you want to provide a transition to it, so we can just use our transition right here. So we just have to use our transition property, and then we have to hover over it. So we want to change something, so we can just change the background to be like teal of 500. And now if you want to provide a duration to it, so we can just write duration, and it will be like 300. Okay, and now if you want to provide a transition like timing function, so for that we can just use the value of that like is in and out. Okay, and if you want to provide a delay, so we can just provide a delay of 150 millisecond, and the text will be totally white. Okay, so now if you save that, and now if I hover over this one, so nothing will happen. And now if I hover over this one, so here you can see we are now getting just a little bit of transition right here. That's because of this transition property or value, and we just change the color once we hover over to it, and we provide a duration of 300 millisecond, and we also provide transition time, what do we call it, timing function of is in and out, and we also provide delay of 150 millisecond, and we also provide text to be like totally white. We can cut that from here, we can change it right here, or you know what, it will be at the end because we are, once we hover over it, so then we want this one to happen. So if you save it, and now if you hover our mouse over to it, so here you can see we are now getting that transition. And you can learn more about this transition property, transition duration, transition timing function, transition delay right here. Here are the links for that. So now let's just learn about a transformation. So I'm going to cut this from here, and I'm going to paste right here. I'm going to cut these links from here and put it in the top like so. Yeah, that's going to be fine. And now let's just learn about transformation. So let's just cover that real quick. So I'm going to just write transformation. Alright, so if you want to work with the transformation, let me just create a button, and let's just write a little bit of classing in it, but I'm going to copy this transformation from it, and I'm going to paste it right here. Let me just create a class, and let me just write padding of 5, and margin for the left I'm going to give him like 5. Text will be totally white at the initial state, WHITE, yep, and the background will be blue and 500. I'm going to provide a transition to it, so transition and ease in out, and then I'm going to also provide a delay of 150. Duration I'm going to give him like 1000, like 1 second. And once we hover over it, so we want to provide a translate value to it, so minus translate, so translate to the y-axis 1. Okay, so we can also scale it over if you want to. So once we hover over it, so we can also just write scale of 110, and we can also change the color once we hover over it. So we can just use teal and 500. So if you save that, so now if I hover my mouse over to it, so it will now translate it for the Y1, it will scale it, and it will also change the background color of that, because we are doing all of that right here. So we are doing our translation or transformation right here, we are doing our transformation right here, and we are just changing the color right here. So this is it about a node transition, with transition and transformation at the same time. And now let's just learn about a few built-in animation right here. So we have a few built-in animation. We have animate spin, we have animate ping, we have animate pulse, we have animate bounce, and I guess that's it. Okay, so this is going to be for spinning, this is going to be for ping, this is going to be a ping one, then we have a pulse and the bounce one. So now let me just write these animation real quick. I'm gonna create a container. First of all, I'm gonna give him a class of flex, and justify will be totally at the center. And now inside there, I'm gonna create a few divs. I'm gonna first of all write spin inside there. So animation spin, padding will be 20, margin left will be 20, margin top will be 20, margin, not margin, but width will be 20, and BG will be teal of 200. And now we are going to be using our animation like a built-in animation. So animate, animate and spin. So if you save that, and now here you can see we are now getting this animation of spinning right here. So now we have another animation. So now let's just duplicate that, and I'm going to just change the name to be like a ping one. So ping, and let's just write animation of ping. And now if you save that, and now here you can see we are now getting this ping animation right here. Okay, so now let's just duplicate that one more time and change this animation name to be pulse, P-U-L-S-E, and this one will be P-U-L-S-E. So if you save that, and here you can see it's kind of a, I don't know, transitioning around. So this is a built-in animation which we are getting right here. And now finally we have our bounce animation. So I'm going to just duplicate that and change this one to bounce, B-O-U-N-C-E, B-O-U-N-C-E. And now if we save that, and now we are getting this bounce animation right here. Okay, so that was a lot of talking, and that was a lot of stuff to cover. So first of all, we learned about colors, then container and spacing, then typography, sizing, positioning, display, background shadows, border, filter, breakpoints, flex, grid, transformation, transition, and animation. So we learned enough about in this section. So now in the next section, we are going to be learning about how we can set up our Tailwind CSS environment by using a Node.js. So you don't have to worry about a Node.js, but we will use a Node.js to build our awesome setup. So we are going to be using a little bit better development setup, which is this one. So let me just search for it. So getting started with Tailwind CSS, and we are going to be using something called CLI. I just forgot the name of the CLI, so that's why I was saying a Node.js. So we now learn enough about Tailwind CSS by using CDN, and now we are going to be installing a Tailwind CSS by using CLI, command line interface. So it's coming. Alright, so now let's install a Tailwind CSS by using a Tailwind CLI. So I'm gonna just click on this one, so it will now brings us this stuff right here. So first of all, it's saying that install a Tailwind CSS. So you just have to copy all of that and put it in your command palette and hit enter. But this is now how all of that works. So first of all, I'm going to go to my Visual Story Coder, and I'm going to close that. You can create your folder anywhere you like, but in my case, I'm going to create my folder inside my desktop, and I'm going to give a name of like better or you know what, a Tailwind CLI, command line interface. So now I'm gonna right click on it and open that, git bash and hit code and period. So it will now open this folder inside our Visual Story Coder. I'm gonna exit that one, and yeah, I'm gonna close that other one. What do you have to do in this case? So I'm going to open my terminal right here by holding Control and hitting the tilde, or you can also grab your own terminal, just like a local terminal or a command palette if you want to. So what I'll do, I'll just write git init, and then I'm going to hit enter. So it will just ask me, okay, so not get init, come on. Now I'm going to use npm init, okay, and if I hit enter right here, so it will ask me a few questions. So it will generate that package.json file for us. Okay, so it will ask me a few questions like what will be the package name? Nothing. What will be the package version? Nothing. What will be the package description? Nothing. What will be the package entry point? Nothing. Test command? Nothing. Get repository? Nothing. Keywords? Nothing. Author? Me? Nothing. License? Nothing. So it will now just create that file for us right here. So we have this package.json file and we have all of this information right here. Okay, so you don't have to worry about this package.json file, but it will just store information about our packages which we are going to be installing in the future. So we are going to be installing a lot of packages right now. So for now we have a name of like Tailwind CLI, version will be 1.0.0, description is nothing, main will be index, and we have scripts of just a test script. This is the default script, and we have author of no one, license will be ISC, there we go. Now what else do we have to do? We have to install there, so I'm going to just copy this npm install -d and Tailwind CSS. So now we are going to be installing this Tailwind CSS inside this dev dependency. So I'm going to just right click on it. Here you can see now we get like npm install -d, like a dev dependency, and Tailwind CSS. And now I'm going to hit enter. It will take a little bit of time because we are installing what do we call it, Tailwind CSS in our project. Alright, so now that we are totally done with the installation of Tailwind CSS, so what else do we have to do? Now it's saying in the documentation that we have to initialize our Tailwind CSS repository. So I'm going to just copy there and I'm going to just hit enter right here. So it will just initialize or get Tailwind CSS repository right here. So it will now use us tailwind.config.js file. And now what else do we have to do? It's saying that you have to create a src folder. It's saying that copy this string and paste it inside this content module which we have right here, but we're not going to be doing that. It's saying like first of all we have to create a src folder, and then inside their source folder we have like anything, select all of the file which is inside src and in which we are going to be writing our Tailwind CSS classes, but we are not going to be using that. Instead we can just provide our own string. So I'm going to just write a string. Inside the string I'm going to just write period and slash and select all of the HTML files. Okay, so this is what we have to do. Okay, so now if we save our file, and now we are done. We are not done. So what else do we have to do? We have to create an input.css file inside the source directory, but we are not going to be creating a source directory. We are going to be creating this input.css file manually. So I'm going to just create this file like input.css file, and now I'm going to copy these from there. These are called directives, which I'm going to show you just in a second. So we have directive of Tailwind base, components, and utils. And by the way, if you didn't install this post CSS extension, which I've mentioned in the beginning of the video, if you didn't install this post CSS extension, so it will give you a squiggly line. So if you already installed this post CSS support, language support extension, so it will not give you that squiggly lines right here. Okay, that's done as well. Now what else do we have to do? Now it's saying that in terminal you have to write npx Tailwind and then the input and blah blah blah, but instead of doing all of that, we have to go to our package.json file and we can just create our own script right here. So I'm going to just remove that and I'm going to just replace that with build. So build, and now let's just remove that from here. So what do you want to do? So if you just run this build command, so what do you want to do with that? We already installed a Tailwind CSS, so Tailwind CSS right here. Then we have to specify the input file. So I'm going to just write -i and then period, and now we want to just search for input.css file which we've created right here. Okay, so this is going to be the input files. So then where do you want to put our output? So I'm going to just write -o for output, and we want them to be styles folder, and inside the styles folder we want to just write like I don't know, style.css would be fine. And now I'm going to put a comma in there and duplicate this line. Okay, so now I'm going to just also write --watch. So anytime you save our file, so it will watch for changes and it will rebuild our project. So I'm going to just write watch. WRTCH. So now if you save our file, everything is working the way we expect them to work. But now the final thing which we have to do is that we have to build our project. So oh my god, let me just exit that. Okay, so now we exit there, and now let's just open our terminal one more time, and now let me just show you everything side by side. So here you can see we don't have that styles folder. Inside that style folder we don't have that style file. So now if you just use like npm and then run, and if I just write watch and if I hit enter, so it'll now just create that folder for us right here. So we have this styles folder, and inside this styles folder we have this style.css file, and we have all of the styling which this Tailwind CSS provide right here. Okay, so not all of them, but these directive styles which we have right here inside this input.css. So we have base Tailwind CSS, we have component, and we have utils right here. And we can also use our own if you want to. So if you want to provide a custom styling, so we can also do that. But first of all, let me just write some code inside the HTML file, and now let's just link that first of all. So here inside this root, I'm going to create a file, give a name of like index.html, and now let me just write a doc type HTML right here. I'm going to give a name of like better Tailwind setup, and now let's just link it with this file which is inside this styles folder, and which is their style.css file. Okay, so let me just copy this h1 from here, copy that, and I'm going to paste it right here. So save our file, right click on it and open it with live server. So it will now open our file in the live server, and here you can see Tailwind did provide their styling to it. So thank you Tailwind CSS, and now we can work with that. So what do we have to do to learn about directives in Tailwind CSS? So inside this HTML file, I'm going to just write anchor tag, and it will go to nowhere, and we have like click here. And now if we save that, and now let's just check it out, and now if we hover our mouse over to it, so here you can see we are getting the cursor of pointer right here. But if you click on there, so we are just getting the refresh and nothing else. So if you want to provide our own classes or our own styling, like a custom styling, so for that we have to discuss these things like what is a base, what is a component, what is a util. So let's just go to the CSS, like Tailwind CSS site, and now let's just search for something called base class. So not Flexbox, but let's just search for component or add layer. Yeah, that's going to be fine. And now we have these directories right here. We have a Tailwind base, component, and utils. And here you can see why does Tailwind group style into a layer. So if you just expand that, and here you can see the definition of base, the definition of layer, and the definition of component. Let's just see where the hell is that. Okay, let me just find that real quick. Okay, right here. The base layer is for things like resets, rules for default style applied to the plain HTML elements, which is this base right here. So the component layer is for the class-based style that you want to be able to override with utilities. So the utility layer is for small single purpose class that you should always take precedence over any other styles. So these are just a definition of that. And now if you want to provide our own styling, so first of all we are going to be using this add layer directive, and the add layer directive help you to control declaration order by automatically relocating your style to the corresponding Tailwind directive, and also enables the features like modifiers and blah blah blah. You don't have to worry about that. You already learned about the definition of base, component, and utilities. So now if you want to provide a custom style for this what do we call it, base one, so first of all we are going to be using the add symbol and then the layer. So then we have to write the component or the directive name, which will be like, in this case we are interested in the base, and now let's just provide a or styling for the base class. So I'm going to select my anchor tag, and now we can provide our own styling to it. So now here we have to use the add apply directive to apply different kind of styling to it. So in this case, let's suppose if you want to change the background color, or not a background but text color, to be green and 500, and we want to also underline it. So now if we save our file, and now if we check it out, so here you can see it's green and underlined. So if you just create another button somewhere, so let me just write a ULLI anchor tag, and let's just see, I don't know, like 5 of them will be fine. Let me just also write $sign in there and save our file, and here you can see all of them will have their black color and underline of what do we call it, yeah, a text decoration of underline. That's because by using this add layer directive and this apply directive. Okay, so this is going to be it for the best one. Now if you want to make changes in this component, so for that we can also use this add layer symbol, and we can also use that add apply symbol. So now let's just discuss that a bit. I'm going to remove everything which we have right here inside a body, and I'm going to just write like a button, and let's just write like text of white, and BG will be indigo, INDIGO of 500, and the padding will be 3. And let me just put a click in it. Okay, so now we have this button. So if you save that, we just have one button right here. Okay, so now if you just duplicate this button and we change just the text to be edited, but we still want to get these stylings. So if you still want to get these stylings, so for that we have to duplicate ourselves right here. But we can also use another way. So if you just save that, so we have click button and we have edit button. But we can also create a component for our styling. So if you want to create a component, so for that we can just use or add layer. First of all, let me just use add layer and components. So now if you want to create a component, so first of all we have to specify some sort of a class. So I'm going to just write like, I don't know, menu. Let me just write a menu and button. So button like so. And inside there I'm going to be using our classes. So I'm going to use this apply directive, and I'm going to cut this styling from here and paste it right here. Okay, so that's fine. I'm going to remove this styling from here as well. So now if you just remove that, save file, save this file as well, and here you can see we don't have that styling for this button right here. But now we totally create our component right here, so we can reuse it again and again in our project. And what was that? Menu buttons. Yeah, I'm going to use a menu button and menu button for this one as well. So if you save that, and here you can see both of them are working just fine right here. So we can change that to menu component, component like so. Copy that, save this file, and I'm going to also change this one to the menu component and this one to also menu component. So if you save that, okay, something is not working. Menu components, okay, we forgot to include, strange. Menu components, copy that and paste it right here, and also paste it right here. So if you save that, and now it's looking better. I guess I messed up something in the spelling, and now it's working. Alright, so that's it for the components. So now if you want to change a utils class like this one, so for that we can also write our code. So let me just get into the HTML, and now let me just remove these buttons from there, and let me just write h1, and it will be just like 500, and let me just put a headings inside there. So if you save that, so here you can see we are now getting this text of green right here. Okay, so now if you go to our input.css file, let's just remove that real quick, and we can just use like add layer. Let me just write a layer in here, and let's just select our utilities, and we can just provide like, I don't know, we can just override different kind of classes. So we can just use like text green of 500, which we've provided right here. So let's suppose if you want to change the color of this green to be like, I don't know, blue, so we can also just do that. So I'm going to just write like color, and now let's just change that to blue. Okay, so if you just do that, and now if you save our file, and here you can see it will now change the color to blue. We can also provide different kind of styling for it. So if you just write like background of teal maybe, and now if you save that, it will also give us the background of teal. We can change that to white if you want to select totally white. So save it, it will now give us the white color, and we can use these classes again and again. So let's suppose we have a header, we have a navigation, we have I don't know, UL. Inside this UL we have a LI, and now if you want to reuse this class one more time, so I'm going to copy that and I'm going to place it right here. So if you save that, and here you can see both of them will work anywhere inside our projects. So enough about this little kind of a project and demo stuff. So now let's get into the project, and now let's just work with that. So if you wanted to get into the project, so you will also have this starter folder, but for now I'm going to remove this node modules folder. Okay, so let's just close this one, and let's just close this one as well. So now let me just get into that, and I'm going to remove this node modules folder from here, because when I'm pushing this code to a GitHub online, you will not have access for that. If you want the same result, so for that you can just use npm and then I in the terminal and hit enter, so it will just install that for you. So what I'll do, I'll just what do we have to do? I'm gonna just click on this one. Let's just remove that. We don't need this starter folder, but by the way, I'm gonna also give you this starter folder in my, okay, so we have to work with the projects. So I'm gonna cut this projects from here, or let me just cut this projects folder from here, paste it on the desktop, and I'm going to delete this folder, but you will still have access to this folder. Like we already covered a lot of stuff inside this fundamentals right here, but you will still have access to all of that. And I'm going to give you a link in the description below, and you can grab all of these fundamental stuff from there, which will bring you to my GitHub repository, and you can grab all of that stuff. All right, so we are now working on our project 1. So I'm going to just write project project 1. Okay, so this is going to be our project 1. Right click on it, or you know what, I'm gonna also get this images folder from there and cut it from there, and I'm gonna paste it right here in this one. Okay, so now let's just right click on it and open it with the Visual Studio Code Editor. So I'm going to just use code and period, so it will now open this file in a Visual Studio Code Editor right here. Okay, so just getting into our first project, but now if you just select there, right click on it and open it with the live server, and we will get to see nothing. All right, so now we have everything right here. So now let's just run our project right here. So now what do I have to do? I'm going to use this command, which is npm I, or install. You can also write install if you want to, but in my case I'm going to just use I, and it will just install all of the packages which I need for my project. So I'm going to hit enter, and it will just install all of that for me. Alright, so our project is successfully done. Now what else do we have to do? I'm going to just use npm run and watch, so it will just watch for the changes, and now we are good to go. So now we can start working on our project. So now here you can see we have our index.html file. Change the name to be like I don't know, a branding site would be fine. Right click on it and open it with a live server, and now we can work with that. And now let's just make it bigger, full screen size. Hide this meta or head area. Let me just write let me just test this project. So h1 text, or you know what, bg of teal 500, and hello, save it. Yeah, everything is working the way we expect them to work. So now let's just get into our first project. So what do I have to do? First of all, I'm going to give a class of bg, and then this arbitrary color which I already have. So we have fbf7, let me just write a 7 in it, and ee. So if you save our file, and it will now give us the background of kind of a creamish yellowish kind of background right here. So now what else do we have to do? Let me just create let me just create a navigation, write a nav with the class of flex, and then justify around, because we want all of our items to be around. So that's why we are using justify around. And now let's just write a div for a logo, and the margin top will be just 5. Okay, so here we are going to be just placing the title like branding. And now if you save that, and here you can see we get our branding right here. Alright, so now underneath this div, what do we have to do? We have to just write our div with the class of nav images, nav images, and I'm going to also provide a margin for a top of 5. And now inside there we are going to be placing our images. So I'm going to go to my images folder real quick. So images folder, and I'm going to select our svg. So inside this svg, I'm going to select this first one, and yeah, I guess that would be fine. I'm going to remove this all from there, and classes I'm going to give is like inline, and margin for the light margin for the left will be 10. Okay, so just duplicate that 2 times, change this one to 2, this one to 3, and now if you save that, okay, we are not getting their images. Why is that? Something went wrong, or we have our images folder. Let's just see everything working or not. Everything is working, so why the hell we are not getting our images? Alright, so now we are getting it right here. I guess I'm way zoomed in. Yeah, 100% will be fine. Now we are getting our images. We provide a dash in there. Let's just remove that dash and see we have our branding and stuff. So justify AROUNDJUSTIFY. Why it's not at the center? Alright, so now if you refresh our browser, so we have to refresh our browser. Come on, man. So why the hell we need our live server for? So let's just stop our live server and open this live server one more time. So I guess now it will work. So let's just see. If I just remove that one, yeah, now it's working the way we expect him to work. Alright, so that's it for the navigation area. Now let's get into our header area. So I'm gonna just write our header and give a class of margin top of 20 and the flex, and then justify will be now set to around. And inside this header we are going to be creating our first card. So I'm going to just write a card of 1, and inside this card I'm going to write h1 of font bold, and I'm going to also give a margin for the bottom of 9. And what else do we have to do? We are going to be also using text of 3 XL, like 3 times extra large, and then spring / summer vibes, like so. And now underneath this h1 I'm going to create a paragraph of w. You know what, I'm going to just create this paragraph, and now we have to give these clauses manually because it will not work because we are using the arbitrary width, so 340 pixel. Now let me just give him a font of totally light, and I'm going to be using a lorem. Not that much I guess, but just a few words would be fine. Save our file, and yeah, that's looking better. What else do we have to do? We have to render our image. So if you want to render our image, we have to first of all write some image. So go to the image, go to the images folder, and that Mohammed, sorry I can't pronounce your last name, but this one, and also give me classes of something. Let me just give me classes of width will be just 300 pixel, and also the margin for the top will be 8. Okay, so if you save our file, and now we are getting this image right here. So this is our card 1. Now I will just duplicate that and change that to card 2. So change this one to card 2, and let me just cut this image from here, and I'm gonna paste it right here up above and change this image to Austin or whatever the guy name is. And now let's just save that. And yeah, it's looking better, but now let's just change the titles to be something else. So this is a spring summer, and now let's just change the title to be what? I guess I'm going to just remove this h1 from here. So now if you save that, so we don't have any title for this guy, and yeah, that's fine. So now let's just rounded this image real quick. So I'm going to just use this image. I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to provide a class of rounded for the top, and we want that to be around like 400 rem. And now if you save that, so this image will round 400 rem right here. Okay, so we have that. Now what else do we have to do? Like we have to provide a margin for the bottom in here. So let's just provide margin bottom of 5, and font will be that light. Yeah, that's looking better for now. Anyways, so that's looking cool. Now let's just create our buttons real quick. So I'm going to create a button right here. So let's just create a button with the class of border, and border in this case I'm going to give him just an arbitrary border, but you know what, let's just create our border manually, and arbitrary border will be a f7 and 452. So this is going to be our color, and text color will be that yeah, that same color. So now let me just grab this color from here, and I'm gonna paste this color right here. Okay, so now I'm gonna give a margin for the top will be 2, margin, not margin, but padding for the top and padding for the bottom, and padding for the left will be 5, padding for the right will be also 5. And I'll just explore in it. So if you just save that, and here you can see we are now getting our button right here. Okay, so that's going to be it for the header area. Now let's jump into another area, that industrial or whatever we have. Alright, so now let's just write styling or HTML for second section. So I'm going to write a section and give a class of flex, and the justify will be now set to around, and I'm going to also provide a padding for the top. And now inside there I'm going to be creating a div with a class of flex and flex column, and justify will be now set to around, and items will be just start. Okay, so inside there I'm going to be using h1 with the class of font bold, and I'm going to be also using margin for the bottom of 9, and I'm going to be using text will be 3XL. Okay, so now inside there I'm going to be using an industrial tag and then BR for breaking, and on streetwear, like so. Now if you save that, and now let's just check him out, and this is how it looks like for now. So underneath that H1 we have to write a paragraph, and let's just create our paragraph manually, and we have to give him a class of these arbitrary values, like what do we have, 340 pixel, and let's just use the margin for the bottom of 5, and font will be light, like so. And I'm gonna just copy these demo text from here, and I want to paste it right here. Okay, so underneath that I'm going to be creating a button, so I'll just write a button with a class of border, and you know, I'm going to just reuse that button one more time because it's not special. I'm going to copy this button from here, and I'm going to paste it right here. So if you save that, and we have this section right here, but instead of explore, I'm going to just write shop now, save our file, and then finally we have to render our image right here. So underneath this div, but inside this section, I'm going to be writing our image, and now let's get into it. So let's just write image, images folder, and then that Austin wide one, and let's just provide a class of, let me just write a class of width will be just 300 pixel, and also margin for the bottom will be 8. So now if you save that, and let's just see, and this is how it looks like right here. So now let's just work on a final section. So underneath this section, I'm going to be creating a new section with a class of flex, and also justify will be now set to center, and items will be now set to center. Margin for the top will be set to 20, padding will be set to 10. And now inside that, we are going to be creating a div with a class of p10, ml, and 10. Okay, so inside that, I'm going to be creating our h1 with a class of font bold, and also margin for the bottom will be 6. Okay, so margin bottom 6, buy now and pay later. And now paragraph with the class of font thin, and also the w will be now set to value will be 14 rems. Okay, so inside there I'm going to be using, oh my god 14 rems, like so. And now let's just write 0% interest pay after 30 days. Okay, so now let's just create our buttons. Underneath this paragraph, we are going to be creating our buttons, or you know what, we are going to be reusing our button from here. So I'm going to copy this button from here, and I'm going to paste it right here. And let's just shop now. That's fine. This is going to be our first section, so let's just duplicate that a few times. So 1 and 2, and now if you save that, and yeah, this is looking better. And just change the text to be like something else, I don't know, cash back reward, and let's just change that to collection and redeem, collect and redeem on every order that you purchased. Save it. Second one is changed, and now let's just change this one to secure payment, and change this one to guarantee 100% under secure payment online on our website, WEBSIT in. Now if you save that, and yeah, that's looking better. But why in the world we're not getting margin bottom? So MB of 5. So if you save that, we're not getting any margin bottom from this one. Margin for the top, do we just provide a margin top to it? You know, I'm going to provide a margin top in this case. So margin top of 5, 6. Yeah, that's looking better. I'm going to copy that from here, and I'm going to paste it right here as well, and here as well. Let me just place it in here, save our file, and yeah, now it's looking better. Alright, so now we are totally done with our first project. Now let's jump into our next project. So I'm gonna close this one, say bye to this one. So let's just exit it. Or yeah, we want to exit that. We are totally done with this project. I'm gonna remove this node modules folder from here, Yeah, this is going to be our project one, so I'm going to copy that and paste it one more time. It will take a little bit of time because we have our node modules folder inside there. We don't want to reinstall it again and again. But if you want to work with these projects, so you're going to have to either clone my repository or download this repository, so then you can use that, what do we call it, npm install. So this is going to be our project 2. So let's get into this projects and web agency, cut this images folder, and I'm going to remove these images from there, and I'm going to put these images folder in here. And now let's just open that inside our Visual Story code editor. So I'm going to just write code. It will now open our project in our code editor. So now we are inside this Visual Story coder. Okay, something is not right. Okay, so we have to exit that. Alright, so now we are inside this second project. So what do we have to do? I'm going to select everything which we have right here, and I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to just write doc type HTML, or you know what, pound symbol. And now it's looking better. And we have, what's the project name? Web Agency. Okay, so the link here with our style sheet, like so, styles and styles like so. Server file, hide the metadata, right click on it and open it with live server. So it will open it with a live server. I'm gonna make that bigger. And now let's just grab this one and put it right there. And I'm going to be using npm run watch. So just watch for the changes that we are going to be making. And yeah, that's going to be fine. So the first thing which you have to do is that we are going to be creating our navigation. So navigation for navigation. I'm going to write nav, and now inside there I'm going to be using ul, and I'm going to give a class of flex, and then margin top will be set to 6. Okay, so I'm going to remove this dash from there. And now inside there I'm going to be using li, and now let's just write our anchor tag, which will go to nowhere, but we will have a margin for the left of, you know, I'm going to be using arbitrary values. So I'm going to give him a class of margin left and 5 rem, and then padding bottom will be set to 2, and text will be now set to our own color, which we are going to be using throughout this project. So 1 BC add D3. Okay, so border will be now set to bottom 2, and border color will be now set to that same color. I guess we are going to be reusing that color. So let's just copy this color from here, and I'm going to paste it right here, and I'm going to give him a label of what? Let me just give him a label of something like home, and server file, and here you can see we get our home right here. Alright, so I'll just duplicate this li right here, and what do we have to change? So we have a margin. Yeah, it's looking better. So I'm going to remove this styling from here, and I'm going to provide my own styling. So ml, like margin for the left will be 10, and once we hover over it, so you want to get a padding for the bottom of 2. Once we hover over it, so we want to get a text of that text which we have provided right here. So I'm going to copy that text real quick, like so, and I'm going to paste it right here once you hover over it. Okay, and then once you hover over it, so what do we want to do? We want to just provide a border of bottom of 2, and once we hover over it, so we have to provide a border border of that same color, like so. And now if you save that, and now if I hover my mouse over to it, so here you can see we are now getting this functionality, but it's looking awful. That's because we didn't provide any colors to it, did we? You know what, I'm going to duplicate that a few times. So let's just duplicate that. We have home, so change this one to skills, and now let's just duplicate that a few times. So we have skills, services, and work. So this is going to be for services, and this is going to be for work, like so. And now if you save that, now if you hover our mouse over to it, so everything is working the way we expect him to work. And now we are totally done with our navigation area. Now let's just start working on our header area. So I'm going to write a header. So let's just select our header. I'm going to give him a class of hero, and another class of legs, and then another class of LG for large. So if our screen size is large, so we want the flex to be row. And what else do you want? So if our screen size is medium, so we want the flex to be column. If our screen size is small, so we want the flex to be column as well. And justify, let me just write justify will be set to between. And also items will be center. Align items will be set to center, and the margin top I'm gonna give him like 28. Yeah, that's going to be fine. So yeah, we did miss something. Period. Yeah, so hero flex, if the screen size is large, so we want to provide a flex of row. The screen size is medium, so we want to provide a flex of column. And if the screen size is smaller, so the flex will be still column, but justify will be set to between. Align items will be now set to center, and margin will be for the top we have 28. Alright, so now let's just work on that. So first of all, we are going to be just getting our div. Inside this div we will have our image. Okay, so it's looking awful. Let me just get my div. Inside this div I'm gonna get my image. So image. Now let's just get into the images folder, and I want to get a hero image right here. Okay, so hero image, no alternative text for that. Close it right here. Underneath this image section, I'm going to create a new div with a class of mr and 10. Like for margin right will be 10, margin left will be 10. And if that's not true, let me just hit enter. Margin right will be 10, and margin right will be 10, and margin left will be also 10. And I'm going to be using, if the screen size is medium, so you want to provide a margin top of 0. If the screen size is smaller, so you want to provide a margin top of what do we call it, 6 rem. Okay, so yeah, that's fine. If the screen size is medium, yeah, top will be 0 and stuff like that. Everything is cool. Now what else do we have to do? Let me just write h1 of text, and text will be set to 5XL, the extra large. And I'm going to also provide a font of bold to it. Margin bottom will be now set to 10. Now inside that, let's just put our web, and let's just create our span and give a classes of text of that same text or colored. So 1BC at D3. Okay, and now let's just hit enter. Okay, so we messed it up surely. So this color. So we have a text of interpolation, kind of. We have to put our agency, agency, save file. And now let's just check him out. I guess we did miss something. Okay, we didn't mess something up right here, so we have to create our cards in there, and then everything will be fine. Underneath this h1, I'm going to create a paragraph and give him a class of w96, so 96, and I'm going to also give him a class of mb10. So inside there, I'm going to just use my lorem ipsum, not that much, so just decrease a few of them like so. And underneath this paragraph, I'm going to be creating our buttons container like so. I'm going to create a button, and let me just give him a class of bg, or you know what, let me just get there, provide a class to it. So bg will be now set to that 1bc, come on, 1bc, and add d3, this kind of color which we've been using for a while. And text will be totally white. Paragraph padding for the top will be now set to 2, padding for the bottom will be now set to 2, padding for the left will be now set to 10, padding for the right will be now set to 10, margin for the right will be now set to 5, margin for the bottom will be now set to 5, and we have to just write our services. Alright, so here you can see this is how it looks like right now. Alright, so what else do we have to do? Now we've created our first button, so now let's just duplicate that and change everything a little bit. So I'm going to change this button to be like learn more, and instead of using that border and color, so I'm going to delete this styling from here, and I'm going to just write like border of bottom of 2, and I'm going to also provide a border color will be now set to totally black, and the font will be totally set to bold, and the padding for the top will be, or you know what, padding will all around be set to 2. Margin, yeah, let's just remove these classes. So margin for the left will be now set to 6, and margin for the bottom will be now set to 5. Yeah, and now if you save our file, and we will just get our button right here. So let's just see here, you can see we are now getting this button right here. Okay, so this is going to be our it for our buttons container. And underneath this div, what do we have to do? We have to create a new div with the class of flex, and then justify will be now set to around. And if our screen size is smaller, like medium, so you want to just set a flex to row. And also if our screen size is smaller, so you want to just write a flex to column. Okay, so everything is working the way we expect him to work. Now let's just write a new class like flex, and then flex will be column. And justify will be now set to center, and align items, so I'm going to just write items of center, and the padding will be 2 all around, and margin will be for right 5 pixel, not 5 pixel but 5, and margin for the top will be 5 as well. And let's just write our BG colors, so I'm going to just provide a BG of that same color which we have been using. So 1 BC at D3, this color. So now get inside there, we are going to be using H1 with a class of margin top of 5, and now inside there we are going to be using our span with a class of font bold, and then 5 star, and yeah, that's going to be fine. In experience, underneath this H1, I'm going to create a paragraph with a class of text center. I'm going to also give a width of like 60. Let me just write 60, and padding will be 2 all around. And let me just put our lorem ipsum inside there, not that much, but just a little bit. I guess that would be fine. So if you save there, okay, we have to wait for it. So this is going to be our first card, and now let's just duplicate that one more time, I guess. So we can just duplicate, oh, you know what, let's just create a new one. We don't have to duplicate our stuff. Let me create a new div with a class of flex, and flex will be column, and justify, I'm going to give this now set to center, items will be also set to center, padding will be all around 2, and margin will be for the right 5, margin for the type will be 5. And now let's just use our background of pound symbol. First of all, 1 BC at D3, this is going to be the color, and BG opacity I'm going to be using is like 20% of opacity. Okay, so that's fine. Now inside there I'm going to be using H1 with the class of margin top of 5 and make, and now let's just use our span, and I'm going to just give a font of bold for the span. And finally let's just hit offer. So if you save our file, and now let's just wait for it, because we don't have that much content inside there. Underneath this H1, I'm going to be creating a paragraph with the class of text center, and the width will be 60. I'm going to also give him a paragraph of 2, not paragraph but padding, and let's just write lorem and save there. Let's just see. Yeah, that's looking better right now. Okay, so we are totally done with our header section as well. So now let's jump into our first section. So let me just create a section, and I'm going to give him a class, or let me just create the class manually, and margin top will be now set to 10 rem, and margin for the left will be now set to 5 rem, and flex justify will be now set to between, and items will be now set to center as well. I'm going to be using, if the screen size is medium, so you want to set a flex to row. If the screen size is smaller, so you want to set that to flex to column. If the screen size is medium, so you want to just write text to the left. And if the screen size is smaller, so the text will be just set to center. So if you save that, now inside this section, what do we have to do? We are going to be just writing a div. Inside this div, we are going to be writing H1 with the class of text 5XL, and font will be now set to bold. And I'm going to be also using margin for the bottom of 10 pixel. So now inside this H1, I'm going to write or and then BR for breaking. And now let me just write a span with a text of or on colors. So I'm going to be using pound symbol 1 BC8 and then D3. Okay, so let me just put a skills in there. So skills, and yeah, underneath this H1, I'm going to be using paragraph with the class of W and 96. This is going to be the class like 96, and also the margin for the bottom will be now set to 10, and I'm going to be using our lorem ipsum. So save our file, let's just wait for it, and this is how it looks like for now. Okay, so now underneath this div, what do we have to do? You know what, I forgot to include buttons, did I? Underneath this paragraph, I'm going to create our button real quick. I'm going to be using button, and let's just give a class of bg and or color, which I'm going to be using like 1bc at d3, and the text will be totally white, and padding for the y-axis will be now set to 2, padding for the x-axis will be set to 10, and margin for the right will be set to 5, margin for the bottom will be set to 5. Okay, so let me just put a services inside there. So if you save that, and here you can see we are now getting our services button right there. Alright, so that's it for the services button. So underneath this div, what do we have to do? We have to put our image. So I'm going to just create a div with a class of not img but an image. So inside this image, I'm going to be creating our image. So let's get into the images folder and the section2.jpg, and now let me just give him a class of w, and let's just use our arbitrary size of 500 pixels. So if you save that, and now let me just refresh my browser real quick. So let's just wait for it, and here you can see we have our second image right here. Okay, and now let's jump into our third section. So let me just write a section with the class of margin top will be now set to 40, and inside there I'm going to be using h1, and margin for the left will be now set to 10, margin for the bottom will be set to 10, and text will be set to 4XL, font will be set to bold, and services services like so. Okay, so inside there I'm going to be using a div with the class of md, like if it's a medium screen size. So we want to provide, you know what, let me just create a div and let me just write a classes manually, because we are going to be using, or we are going to be interpolating our classes. If our screen size is medium, so you want to just use 40 rem, and if our screen size is smaller, so we want to just provide a height of auto. If our screen size is medium, so then we have to just use like 60, and then if our screen size is smaller, then we have to use w, like width and auto. And items, let me just write items will be now set to center, background color will be now set to that color, which now in this case it will be different colors, so 29 to A to B. If the screen size is medium, so we have to use a flex of no wrap. If the screen size is smaller, so we have to use a flex of wrap. Okay, so that's that. And now inside there, I guess this color is not working. Okay, it is working. Now inside this div, what do we have to do? We have to create our first card. So we are going to be using div with a class of 1. Inside there, we are going to be creating a new div with a class of relative, and let's just put our w of 300 pixel in it, and I'm going to be using margin for the left of 10, margin for the bottom of 10, background color will be now set to that kind of 1bc at and d3, and I'm going to be using the left value like 20, and the top value will be now set to 10, and the padding will be also set to 10. Okay, so now inside this div, what do we have to do? So let me just create h1, and the font will be set to bold, and margin for the bottom I'm going to be using 5. Okay, so we have a web, br, and then we have development, so development like so. And then underneath this h1 we have our paragraph and a lorem ipsum inside there, so like so. If we save that, and now let's just preview it. So how does it looks like? So this is our first section right here. We have our web development, and then we have our lorem ipsum inside there. Underneath this div, I'm going to create a new div with a class of relative. So I guess I'm not going to be using any relative class. I'm going to duplicate that div. So let me just duplicate this div real quick. So yeah, this is going to be the first div, and let's just duplicate that. So we have 1. I guess we duplicate the wrong div, so this div right here, and let's just duplicate that. And instead of web designing, I mean like web development, we have to put a web design right here. Okay, so that same lorem ipsum would be fine. And we have web development, we have web designing. What else do we have? Now let's just get outside from this paragraph. Now let me just write 2 in here. So 2, and everything is fine, but I'll just copy this text from here and copy it till this one. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it right here. So save it, and yeah, this is looking better. But now we have to just change the styling of it a little bit. We have to just change the colors to be like 29 2A to B. Okay, so this is going to be the color. Everything else is fine, and the text color I'm going to be also using text of white. And let me just copy that real quick, and let me just see everything is fine. So we have a left of 20, top of 10, and padding going to be also set to 10. Okay, so let's just change that to analytics real quick. And now LaTeX, yeah, and lorem ipsum will be fine. And then we have that same kind of styling right here. I'm going to remove that and replace it with this kind of a black color, and the text color will be white, and this text will be now set to SEO. Let me just use a BR for breaking, and SMM. Okay, so if we save our file, and now let's just check him out, and this is how it looks like. So first of all, we have our navigation, then we have our header, then we have word skill. So now let's just work on our final section, and then we are going to be writing our footer area. So let me just write a section with a class of margin top of 32. Inside that, we are going to be using h1 with a class of text to the right, and margin for the right I'm going to be using 20, and text will be 5XL. Okay, so font will be now set to totally bold, and I'm going to be using margin for the bottom of 10. So recent projects would be the title. So underneath this h1, I'm going to create a div with a class of M20, like margin for all around 20, and flex, and then I'm going to be using justify around, and I'm going to be using items center, and flex will be now set to wrap, and max not max, but margin for the x-axis will be now set to auto. Okay, inside there I'm going to be creating a few cards for the images. So I'm going to write the class of W64, and the margin for margin all around will be set to 10. And now inside that we are going to be using our images. So we have our images, and then let's just select our Alex and that kind of a person name, and we're not going to be providing any clauses for it. And let's just provide a title. So the title will be BG. You know what, I'm going to write a div. Let me just create a class right here, and the BG will be now set to $1BC8, and let's just use a padding of 2, and text will be now set to totally white, and I'm going to be replacing that with web design. Okay, so let's just duplicate that a few times. So we have 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. Okay, so if you save our file, and this is how it looks like right here. So we can just change these other stuff from here. I don't know, let's just change these images to something else. Maybe so change this image to this one. Change this image real quick. Then we have our Kevin. So Kevin. And then we have that Nathan, or whatever the guy name is. Save our file. Okay, so we have our recent projects. So we have web design for all of them. We can change that to web development, analytics, SEO, CTO, and stuff like that, but we are not going to. So finally we just have to create our footer section. So I'm going to create a footer, give a class of BG of that kind of 29 and 2A to B. Okay, so let me just provide a PY of 10 to it. So inside this footer section, I'm going to creating a div with a class of flex. Justify will be now set to around, items will be now set to center, flex will be now wrapping. Okay, so inside there, what I'll do, I'll just create a card, and inside each of these cards I'm going to be using the font of bold, and the margin bottom will be now set to 5, text will be now set to totally white, and I'm going to be using side menu in the upper cases. Okay, and paragraph will be now set to text white, and I'm going to be using about us, and just duplicate that a few times. Duplicate that and change this one to photography and lens index. Okay, so I guess I'm going to duplicate this card a few times to 3, and change this one to something else, like, I don't know, a review in uppercase, review, like so. And then we have about us, not about us, but reviews, archive, camera review, and also lens review. Yeah, lens index, come on. Not a lens index, but lens review. And duplicate that and change this one to other gear reviews. So save our file, and now let's just check him out. Go to the review section, footer section. Yeah, everything is working the way we expect him to work. Change that to more, and let's just change this one to contact us, and change this one to subscribe. And you should also subscribe to my channel, because look at this course, how much long this course is. And workshop, I'm just kidding, if you want to subscribe to it, so feel free to do that. If you don't, so thanks for even watching my content. Save file, and let's just check him out. So let's just see everything is working the way we expect them to work. Alright, so now we are totally done with our second project as well. So now finally let's just build our final project, and this is going to be it for this video. So now let's build the third project of this course. So I'm going to copy this folder and I'm going to paste it right here. It will take a little bit of time, so I'm going to just go inside these projects and I'm going to copy this images folder and also this index.html. So I'm going to change the name to project 3. And now inside this folder, I'm going to remove this images folder and this index.html file, and I'm going to just replace it with this new one. Right click on it and open or terminal or git bash, not git GUI, come on. Right click on it and open a git bash, and now I'm going to just write code and enter, so it'll now open our Visual Studio Code editor right here. Okay, so now let me just get into this index.html file. So we have just a font family of Fire Display, which we are importing from a Google's font. Right click on it and open it with a live server. And also let me just launch my terminal and I'm going to write npm run watch, and now I'm gonna just wait for it to run. And yeah, everything is working, and now I'm gonna just get into it. And first thing first, let me just check if everything is working or not. So I'm gonna just use background of red, like 300 of hello. And now if you save that, and let's just see. Okay, we are not getting that. Let's just see, is everything working or not? So it's now set to CSS, and we have the folder of style. So I'm going to just change the path to style and then style.css. So now if you save our file, and yeah, everything is working the way we expect him to work. Alright, so first of all, we are going to be creating our navigation. So I'm going to just write nav, and inside this nav we are going to be creating our UL with a class of flex, and justify will be now set to center, and items like align items will be also set to center. And if our screen size is larger, so we are going to be setting the display to flex, and if our screen size is medium, so we are going to be setting that to block. If our screen size is smaller, we are going to be setting that to block as well. And we are going to be also providing a flex wrap of wrap, and the margin for our top will be 10. So now inside this UL we are going to be creating our different kind of LIs. So I'm going to just write li, and margin for the top I'm going to give like 5. And inside this li I'm going to create my anchor tag with a few classes. So I'm going to give him a class of margin for left of 28, and text will be this arbitrary color which I'm going to be using, which is 137 for add. So this is going to be the color which I'm going to be using. So I'm going to copy that, and we are going to be reusing that color again and again. So what else do I have to do? I'm going to just provide a font of bold to it, and the border of bottom will be now set to 2. And I'm going to also give him the border color of this color which we are going to be using throughout our project. And the padding for the bottom, I'm going to set that to 2. And as a label, I'm going to just put a home in it. So if you save our file, and here you can see we have our first home right here. So I'm going to just duplicate that a few times, and we are going to be changing the styling just in a second. So we have free courses, then we have meet the founder and blogs. So now let's just change these labels to free courses, and also change this one to meet the founder. Okay, and now finally we have our blogs. So if you just write blogs, and if you save our file, and yeah, everything is working the way we expect them to work. And now what do we have to do? I'm going to just change this value to, once we hover over it, so we want to change the font to be bold, and once we hover over it, so we want the border to be 2 pixels in that color. And let me just put a hover inside there as well. Okay, so the hover stayed and the hover stayed in here as well. So now if you save our file, and this one is now looking like this. If you hover over it, so here you can see we are now getting the styling right here. So what I'll do, I'll just copy the styling from here and I'll just paste it right here. And let me just hit Control D and I'm going to paste it right here. So if you save our file, yeah, everything is working the way we expect them to work. And now we are totally done with this navigation section. So what else do we have to do? We are going to be creating our header area first of all. So I'm going to just write header and I'm going to give a margin for a top of 40. Now inside this header, I'm going to create our div with the class of flex, and justify will be now set to center. Okay, so now inside there, we are going to be creating our image. And now let's get into our images folder, and I'm going to get this Cassie or whatever the guy or the girl name is. So I'm going to get that image and I'm going to remove this alternative text from there, and I'm going to put my own class to it. So I'm going to provide W for the width of 72. Let me just write 72 like so, and margin for the right I'm going to put that to 10. Anyway, so underneath this div, or yeah, not underneath this div but underneath this h1, but underneath this image, I'm going to just create my h1. If the screen size is larger, so you want to set the text to be 5XL. Okay, so if the screen size is like medium, so you want to change the text to be 2XL. If the screen size is smaller, then you want to change the text to be large. And if yeah, text to be large, and now you want to provide a font of bold to it, and the text will be this kind of gray. So you know, I'm going to hit enter right here, and now let's just provide our arbitrary text to it. So text value or the color value, I'm gonna just put like 2 1 2 2 2 and 1. Okay, so finally margin for the top I'm gonna give it like 20, and now let's just put our label inside there. So I'm gonna just write the and then br, and now underneath there we are going to be creating our span with the class of text, and let's just put our 13, what was the color, 137 548, that was the color which we've been using for a while. Yeah, I guess that's the color. Or you know what, I'm gonna cut that from here, and now if I hit enter, now let's just provide a class to it, and I'm gonna paste this color right here. And inside there I'm gonna just put a photography, so photography. And now if you save our file, and this is how it looks like for now. Okay, so if you just make our screen size a bit smaller, and here check out this text right here. Okay, we can just make it a bit more smaller, and everything is working the way we expect him to work. Anyway, so that's for the photography header, or what do we call it, section. And now let's just create our section 2 inside this header. So I'm gonna write section, and yeah, our second section would be fine. And now underneath that we are going to be creating our div with the class of flex, and justify will be now set to center, and items will be also set to center. Inside there I'm going to be creating a paragraph with the class of text and 8XL, and I'm going to also give him a text of arbitrary value. So for that we have to first of all write it manually. So we are going to be writing text, and it will be now set to 2 1 and 3 2 2 2 and finally 1, and I'm going to just put my quote in it. Okay, so quote, and then we have our paragraph, and margin for the top will be 10, and margin not margin, but if our screen size is medium, so then we want to provide text of 2XL to it, and if our screen size is smaller, so then we want to provide text of large. And also the margin for the right, I guess I missed, no, everything is fine. So margin for the right will be 10, and let's just provide our arbitrary color to it. So I'm going to write text of this color. Let's just write hash 2 1 2 2 2 and 1. Okay, so now inside this paragraph, what do we have to do? We are going to be creating our span with the class of text, or you know what, let me just write it manually like text, and this is going to be the arbitrary value. So we are going to be using 1 3 and 7 5 4, let me just write 4 and 8. Let's just put our 8 in it, and then font will be totally bold. Okay, so I'm going to put a photography inside there as well. So photography like so, and outside from this pen is the story, and then we have our BR, and I failed to put into words. So now if you save there, and here we are getting our second section right here. Okay, so everything is working the way we expect him to work. So I'm going to change that to something else just in a second. You gotta wait for me. And now let's just finally put our image underneath this paragraph. So I'm going to just write image, a few clauses or one clause will be fine. So width will be just 72. Okay, so the image will be, let's just go to the images folder, and inside this images folder we are going to be getting this era or whatever the name is. I'm going to remove this alternative text, and now if you save that, and now here you can see we are now getting this second image as well. So we are totally done with our header section. So what else do we have to do? Underneath this section, underneath this header section to be precise, we are going to be creating our section, a new section for what? So I'm going to just give a class of margin for the top of 40, and display will be flex, justify will be set to around because we want our items to be around, and then we have a flex will be now set to wrap. And underneath that we are going to be creating our paragraph with width of 80, and also margin bottom will be now set to 20. And here we are going to be placing our span, and font will be now set to bold, and then we have photography, and I'll just fill out the rest just in a second. And underneath this paragraph, what do we have to do? We are going to be just writing our h1 with the class of text of 5XL, and the font will be totally set to bold, and text will be now set to this arbitrary value. So I'm going to cut there and hit enter, and now I'm going to put this arbitrary value inside there. So we have 2 1 2 2 2 and then 1. So this is going to be the color, and margin for the bottom will be now set to 20. And inside there we are going to be writing what is BR, and then span with the text of arbitrary value. So we are going to be creating our class of this text, and let's just put our arbitrary value inside there. So 1 3 what was that, 7 5 4 8. So this is going to be the color which we are going to be using, photography, yeah, in question mark. And now if you save that, and now let's just see, here you can see this is going to be our first section, and this is going to be the title of that section. So if you just make it a bit smaller, here you can see it will just push it to the new line because we provide a flex wrap to wrap, so that's why we are getting this result. Okay, so I'm gonna make that a bit bigger, and now outside from this section we have to create our new section. So let me just create a section and give a class of margin for the top will be set to 52, and I'm gonna also provide display of flex in it and justify. You know what, let's just wait, you know, I'm going to just provide justify of around, and flex will be also wrapping in this case. Okay, so I'm going to just create a div with a class of flex, and justify will be now set to totally center, items will be now set to totally center. Okay, so inside that div we are going to be creating a new div, and just a little bit of arbitrary values like BG will be now set to that color we've been using. Copy that, I'm going to paste right here, and the background opacity I'm going to set that to 40, not here, let's just cut that, paste right here. Okay, and height I'm going to give arbitrary height of like 25 rem, and the width I'm going to be giving is like 20 rem. Okay, so outside from there I'm going to set the display to relative or position to relative, not display, relative. And if our screen size is larger, so we want to set the display to block. If our screen size is smaller, so we want to display to block. If our screen size is medium and small, so we want to set that to hidden. Okay, so now inside there we are going to be putting our image. So I'm going to go to the images folder, IMAGES and images folder, and inside this images folder we are going to be selecting this garlic or whatever the name is. So this folder I'm going to just remove this alternative text and provide a class of width of 80. I'm gonna put 80 in it, and the absolute value in it. And if our screen size is large, so you want to provide a left value to 20, and if our screen size is large, so the top value will be set to -20, and if our screen size is medium, so you want to provide the right value to 10. If our screen size is medium, so the top value will be also set to 20. Okay, so now if we save that, and now let's just check him out, and this is how it looks like for now. And now let's just put our text inside there. So what do we have to do for that? I'm gonna go underneath there. So now let's just create our div with a class of content, so content. Okay, so now let me just put our h1 of text 5XL, and the font will be now set to bold. And now let's just provide a little bit of arbitrary value to it, like text will be now set to 2 1 2 2 2 and 1. So this is going to be the text color, and margin bottom I'm going to give is like 10. And as a label we are going to be providing like about and then span of text, and this is going to be the arbitrary value. So I'm going to just write text and then hash, and let's just reuse that color which you have. I'm gonna copy that color and I'm gonna paste it right here and set that to hash, not dollar. And yeah, so let's just provide founder. Okay, so this is going to be the title of our content section, and now let's just provide our paragraph. So paragraph with the class of width 80, and we are going to be giving the width of 80, and I'm going to fill that out just in a second. Alright, so now that we filled that out, and now if we save our file, and this is how it looks like right here. Okay, so everything is working the way we expect them to work. And now let's just create our new section. Underneath this section, we are going to be creating a new section with a class of margin top of 32. Inside this section, we are going to be creating our h1 with the class of text to the right. Margin for the right will be now set to 20, and text will be set to 5XL, and the font will be now set to bold, and margin for the bottom I'm going to set that to 10. And recent projects, so if we save that, and we cannot see that, we will see that just in a second. And let's just provide our div. So let me just create a div with the class of margin for all around 20. I'm going to give him a display of flex, and justify will be now set to around. Items will be now set to center. Flex wrap will be now set to wrap, and also the max, the margin for the x-axis will be now set to auto. Okay, so now I'm going to put my other container with the class of width of 64, and also the margin will be all around 10. Inside there, I'm going to go to the images folder real quick, and I'm going to just render or this image right here and remove the alternative text from there. Okay, so let me just go outside from there, and let me just put a div with the class of text, and this is going to be the arbitrary. So I'm going to just write this 13. Let's just get their text from here, copy it, and I'm going to paste it right here, and provide a padding for the y will be now set to 2, and I'm going to just set that to web design. Okay, so now if you save that, and now let's just see. Alright, so now we are getting our first section right here. So this is going to be for text, and what else can we do with that? You know what, I'm going to duplicate there a few times. So we have web design, impact, personal, natural, or nature, fancy, and luxury. So let's just change the title to be something else, like instead of web design, we have impact. And then we have personal, so let's just change that to personal, and also change this one to, what is that, nature, and also change this one to fancy. And finally we have or luxury, however you want to pronounce that word. So we have a luxury right here. And now let's just change these images to something else. So I'm going to remove this image, hit Control D, Control D, Control D, and remove that. Okay, so now let's just change this image to something else, which is that William or whatever, and change this image to James. Okay, so not Jack, but James. So I'm going to just provide that James image in it, and then we have the other image, which is that Karimon, K-R-I, yeah, this one. And then finally we have this image, which is that Marco UX, and we have that other one. So let's just remove that, which is that iLif or ALF or whatever the name is. So I'm going to just save my file, and let's just wait for it. And this is how everything looks like. So if you just make it smaller, and now everything is working, so everything is still better on a smaller screen size as well. So I'm going to just make that a bit bigger. And now let's just finally create our footer section. So I'm going to just create my footer section, and I'm going to give them a class of padding for y-axis will be now set to 10, and inside that I'm going to create a div with a class of flex and justify around. I'm going to also provide the items to be centered, and flex will be now set to wrap. Okay, so inside there I'm going to create a card. Inside this card I'm going to create h1 with a class of font of bold, and the margin for the bottom will be now set to 5, and side menu. Okay, so underneath this h1 we are going to be writing our paragraph of about us, and then we have another paragraph of photography, another paragraph of lens database, and another paragraph of lens index. Okay, so I'm going to just duplicate that 2 times. Yeah, I guess 2 times will be fine. Okay, so now let's just change that from side menu to reviews. So reviews, and this is going to be what do we have? More. Change this level to something else, like I don't know, review archive, REVIEW, or reviews archive, and also change this one to camera reviews, and also change this one to lens review, and this one will be now set to other gear reviews, REW or REVIEWS, like so. And now let's just change this one from about us to contact us, and photography will be now set to subscribe, and we have workspace, so not workspace but workshops, and also we have support us, so support us. So now if you save our file, and now let's just check them out. So this is how it looks like right here. So now we are totally done with this project as well, and you can play around with that if you want this coding. So you can find this coding in my GitHub repository. Alright, so that was the end of the course. So thanks for watching, and if you want to follow me, so you can follow me on Twitter. If you have some questions, so you can ask me on Twitter, or if you have like some other projects idea, or if you want me to build some other course for you, so I can also do that. But you just have to send me a message on Twitter, or you can also subscribe to my channel if you want to. And anyways, that was the end of the course. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.